just hush so my mind could just cease so my mind don't erupt. At times I feel I can't get enough, but I sip a double cup and I spin a couple bucks. Sending out some love to my blood, to my girl, to my bud, to the homie up above.
That's right, folks. No crazy what the fuck, sort of videos to start this one off and whatnot and everything for once. Right. This might be the first time in the history of the MCU's Bleeding Edge that I've not played something insane or crazy whatnot to start the show, because we're here to review what I consider to be basically a cinematic masterpiece in the movie Seven. Now, of course, my first question to Andres, the pop culture guy, and of course Cyberneticshark, I forgot how we decided to word it, Cyber. Not the original creator, but a co-creator of the MCU's Bleeding Edge, a veteran content creator, veteran YouTuber, as well as Andres is as well. And a good friend of mine, right? And my teammate here in this venture we call the Bleeding Edge verse. No, my first question to you guys right off the bat will be, of course, folks, we are the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast, as you all know. If you're here, usually that means that you've experienced the Bleeding Edge universe yourself. It can be somewhat interesting at times, intriguing, raw, funny, and also emotional and traumatic. It just depends on the person, I guess. But this is going to be some serious shit tonight. I hope you all enjoy the show. That's all I can really say. I hope you enjoy watching this when this comes out on YouTube or whatever platform you're on. It's going to be a great review. We got a short but fucking dope panel, right? And me and Cyber, we tend to work well together. So, I have a feeling we're going to kill it on this one. I do. I've only got 27 pages of an outline to work with. So, could be a 4 hour and 0.75 hour long live stream review, Cyber, my friend. Just in case you want to take a break for like 2 hours, whatever, during the show and take a nap, whatever, then come back, right? Because Cyber can get out like that. He's that good, right? Anyways, you can subject me to Andres and his fucking 60-minute, contributions and shit while you're gone. He'll have 2 contributions during your break.
We're gonna get Andres a hat that says 60-minute man.
See, I was confused. I thought that he was the 60-minute man and the 17-minute man.
No, 60 minutes. The 17 is from you.
I'm the 17-minute man. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We had that conversation last episode too, Jeffrey. You are the 60-minute man.
Yeah. I know. Well, but in real life,
apparently you don't.
Folks,
you don't remember.
In real life, in the real world, in the dichotomy of the bedroom area and whatnot and everything, I can tell you right now, the balance of that equation between me and Andres is reversed in reality, if anything, because he ain't pulling down no 60-minute shit like I get down. You know what I'm saying? He's down there more in the 17-minute range. Hey, and you know what, Andres? If you're pulling 17 minutes, bruh, then hey, you're pulling some shit off better than fucking most dudes out there, from what I hear from ladies. I digress. Now, like I said, I consider this film a cinematic masterpiece that David Fincher just basically killed after Aliens 3, which, hopefully we'll get to review down the road. I know next time we decide to pick movies, Cyber, I'm going to throw Aliens 2 and 3 in, since we did one with Podcast Odyssey with Joey. Well, that's a few, Joey. Hope everything's going well over there, Dollface, and the family and the kids. But start with you, Cyberneticshark. Would you agree or disagree with me? And if you wouldn't mind expounding as to which decision you'd make, that I consider this to be basically a cinematic masterpiece, especially at the very least of the cinematic masterpiece, probably of the 90s.
This is definitely a very well done film. It is. I would say yes. I would agree. It is a masterpiece of a film. It is really well done. The whole concept was really well done. I think that the reason why it's such a masterpiece is the fact that this film was considered panned when it first came out in 1995. It actually was considered, the test screenings, the people said they didn't like the film. They thought it was a horrible film, that it wasn't going to work. Even the producers and even the studio was thinking that this was going to be a bomb of a film. Well, it ended up making quite a bit of money when it got released in 95. I believe it was around the $320 million range.
Plus.
And plus, yeah. And
off a $33 million budget.
Yeah. And so, it ended up being a success. It was another one of those films where it kind of went down the road. It kind of started to become a masterpiece as time went on and people understood it better and regarded it better. And now it's considered like one of the greatest, Fincher films of all time. And I mean, you can't go wrong with such a great cast. I mean, Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey. These are great actors who, always do really well in their films. They always are perfect as their characters. And this film was just so well casted. And I think that's why it's another masterpiece too. And I think that by the directing of, Fincher, I think that it just had a good, uh, introduction and middle section, ending section. He just knew how to piece it together to keep you in suspense. And the writer on this too did a really fantastic job as well. So I mean, all those things mixed together just made a really well constructed film that ended up becoming this masterpiece that it is. And I mean, rewatching it, I hadn't seen it in quite a bit long time actually. I forgot there was so many interesting things in this film. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, okay, this and that, and like, oh wow, like I forgot about that and this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, this movie made the phrase, "What's in the box?" a catchphrase for time to tell. So, I mean, I definitely have to agree. This is a masterpiece.
Andre's the pop culture guy. If you'd like to riff off of cyber or just on your own, answer my question. Feel free, sir. What are your thoughts? And please, guys, feel free to take as much time, literally, no joke, as you want to take on every one of my questions, please, because this movie deserves it.
Yeah. I agree with Cyber. I mean, I think this movie started slowly kind of skipping into pop culture. Like, I of course, What in the Box is such a pop culture thing. I mean, every TV show and like movie kind of reference it. I mean, it just stayed ingrained with so many people, and I mean, even imitators in pop culture movies like wanted to be Seven. Like I don't know, like the something. I'm trying to figure out like what was like like okay, like the Bone Collector. I was trying to remember what was like Bone Collectors, the Saw movies. That was produced by James Wan is similar to that, or the Morgan Freeman films, Kiss the Spider, or
Kiss the Spider. What the fuck? What is he? What are you having an Alan moment or what? Between you and Alan, I don't know which one. Fucking like,
my bad.
You know what? Honestly, Andres, you're at this point. Kendra was bitching me out last night for beating up on you. She was joking for beating up on you too much during the last couple shows, but she was kidding because I haven't beaten you up. When you're saying shit like titles like "Kiss the Spider" and all this shit,
Wait.
there's no fucking movie called "Kiss the Spider."
Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Yeah, Kiss the Spider. No, Kiss the Girls. That's the movie I was talking about.
That's
so
what
sorry,
you're thinking
folks.
of, the Ashley Judd film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along Came a Spider. Those two films.
I saw that. Andres, on a light note, I actually caught that movie in the theaters with my first girlfriend. My first real girlfriend. We saw that. I thought it was really good.
Oh, that's because it's a really good movie. I think Margaret Freeman was great there. So I brought up the Bone Collector, the Denzel
Ashley
Washington.
Judd. Oh man.
Yeah. So this movie is very influential to like raising these like dark, detective thriller films that was going on during the late 90s to 2000s. So
yeah, it has a Gotham feel, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, and speaking of Gotham, I mean this. I think this was also like because you have to remember this was during the time the Batman films was getting campier. This was like what people think of what the Batman film should be, more dark and psychological. Yes. Like
Good point.
And a lot of people always like I remember this when the Dark Knight trilogy was going on. Still, a lot of people use Seven as a comparison to like you use Seven as the Riddler. Like Seven is the perfect.
What did I just say right there? What does that word say?
Sure.
Contrast.
Yeah.
I wanted some contrast from you guys.
Yeah. So I always heard that Seven reference because people thought that'd be a perfect way to use the Riddler in a dark and realistic way, which we got from last year with the Batman, with Paul Dano's version of the Riddler. So yeah, I cannot say Seven is David Fincher's best film. Like for me, it's The Social Network. You know that with combining of the writer Aaron Sorkin, it is a really great combo there. But this movie is top notch. I mean, it's top three Fincher film. Um, I mean, Fincher did not like directing Alien 3. I mean, he like disavowed Alien 3, so this is technically the first feature for David Fincher, and like it shows you what David Fincher is as a director. You know?
Okay. Basically, well, I'm sorry, you fucked me up there, Andres, because at first you fucked me up with the whole like idea or concept of like, what if someone did a Batman film with like the level of Seven writing? You know what I'm saying? Whatnot, and the feel of Seven, like that kind of Batman film would fuck me up, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole concept blown through my mind for a minute. Really, I won't lie, Andres, you stumped me on that with this shit. And because of the Gotham thing, the vibe that I knew you would jump on, but I never even thought to parallel those films or in that direction. Basically, I can't think of any other film that I can compare this to. When I think about it, like there's not another movie that I can like say I can relate and say like Seven is similar to this, right? It's very unique. Would you agree, Cyber?
To an extent, back in '95, most definitely. But after it came out, so many movies came out afterwards that were very similar to the idea, to the concept. Because Bone Collector is 100% very similar to this. Just they took it to another level. They put Denzel Washington into a bed that, he had an accident that caused him to be paralyzed. But same principle. Insomnia, that's another one that I would consider very similar to this too. I mean, there's several films that came out afterwards that did that. And I think that in its own way, Seven is unique because of the ending, most definitely. But at the same time, there's been several times afterwards that they've had similar type of endings. So, I mean, for its time in '95, most definitely, yes, I agree that it would be very unique at that time. But considering it now with everything that's come out in the last 25 years, almost 30 years now, it's definitely it's the norm.
Most definitely. Okay. What's Andres? Would it be more fair than to say as a question or put out as a question? When I think of the impact of Seven, of David Fincher's work, of the writing and whatnot, by of course Andrew Kevin Walker, who I'll discuss in a moment, very briefly. I think of maybe something like True Detective, the first season of True Detective, right? Gave me like not Seven vibes. It gave me Fincher Walker type, concept of a detective crime procedural type series, right? Or like that type of genre or trope, which is this.
Yeah.
This is considered a crime film. If I'm correct, I believe it's considered a crime film, or it's a procedural detective type movie, not a horror movie. Which I think Cyber, didn't you point that out to me that Seven wasn't a horror movie?
Correct. It's a thriller.
That's right. Okay. So Andres, what do you think?
I mean, I brought up TV shows. I didn't bring up TV shows. You brought up True Detective. I mean, Hannibal, the Hannibal show with Matt Nicholson, and that show is very much like a Seven type. With the detective versus the serial killer. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly for me like it's the title sequence. That's another thing that influenced movies and TV shows of dark material. Like the title sequence of Seven is the most iconic thing. I just just gets you into the mood of it. But yeah, so I think, I mean, again, I say this is very influential to me in general. And as Cyber brought up was the ending. Like that's always the thing. It's the ending. It's like I I don't. I'm trying to think like maybe like the 1978 remake of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You have few films have a bleak ending like this film has, and like the setup is so like so dead right, uh, correct and messed up. Is like you weren't prepared for that. Like the build up just excellent. I mean, especially when Morgan Freeman opens the box, and then like he's like you know, and then you realize what's going on, and then it's just game over. So yeah, oh man, this movie is just this. Oh my god, it hunts you very quickly, and same with Saber. Me too. It's been a while for me. I seen this film like 3 or 4 times, and I remember the box, and then of course the sloth victim, and and I mean, this movie, yeah, it is a American thriller, but it has these like very horror vibes, like
It does.
that's the thing. Like that's why a lot of people has this problem, like confusion that this is a horror movie because just the way, it, like, just the bleak nature of it is just like very horror, very gothic vibes to it.
No, most definitely. I believe Trent. If I'm correct, I'm not even look this up. I believe Trent Reznor does the score on this, doesn't he? Was it
Howard
was it the
Shore?
first one? Oh,
No,
okay.
no, no. It's Howard Shore who did he did a couple of the David Cronenberg films. He's
Okay.
the one that did the Lord of the Rings films.
So I just correlated the fact that was that it was Nine Inch Nails in the intro to that.
Yeah,
I think I do
yeah.
believe that somebody did hire Trent Reznor to do a score for a film at one point. I want to say, it's
I
which one it was.
I think so.
I mean, hasn't he done at least one film where he's done the score?
I think so. I need to check, but I know what you're talking about. But yeah, but a lot of musicians always become composers. I mean, uh,
God, I wish I was going to see Nine Inch Nails on Tuesday this week instead of Fall Out Boy with my daughter. You know what I'm saying? I'd so much rather do 2 hours of Nine Inch Nails than I would fucking Fall Out Boy.
I love Fall Out Boy.
I like Fall Out Boy too, but I mean, I'm trying to imagine them like a whole set of them and like what this is going to be like.
If they play Immortals, I'm jealous.
Okay, well, you know what, Cyber? Hey, look, I mean, I was just joking. I like Fall Out Boy too. I always thought their songs were really damn good, like and trendy. Back when I used to listen to the radio and when not in the car, I used to always enjoy their songs.
Why are you apologizing? I'm not asking for an apology.
I know.
I'm screwing with you.
I'm apologizing in general because I do actually like the band in general too, and they do make good music. I just haven't heard a lot of their newer stuff, so I don't know what they've been putting out or like of what quality it is and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe you should take some of that time you have and listen to some of it.
I'm going to. I intended on trying to before the show on Tuesday with Isabella. I planned on checking out and see if there's what's on YouTube for like new songs or whatever, whatnot. But yes, my daughter wrote me into going up to Tampa St. Pete for more of my balance, Andres. I'm going on Tuesday to go to go to the amphitheater up in Tampa, up St. Pete. I called Mark Rutledge to see if he wanted to go with us, but he's busy with one of his 4 different poly girlfriends or whatever. So
yeah. So I want to answer your question about the 9 Inch Nails being composers. Yes, they are. They the band person Trent Reznor.
Trent Reznor, yeah.
Yes. So he has composed a couple of Fincher's films. That's The Social Network and the girl with the dragon tattoo, the 2011 American version. So
my father and my grandfather actually did work for him at his house in upstate New York. Plumbing.
Really?
They did the plumbing in his house that they had built up there. Yeah, when I was a kid. Yeah, I used to be a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. Back when a lot of people where I was from in upstate New York didn't even like that kind of music. I was all about it. I love that industrial rock type shit. Either way, though, no. So basically, when it comes to the writing, and I've got to change the brand behind me. When it comes to the writing, now essentially, I'm just going to read here from Wikipedia. In 1986, aspiring screenwriter Andrew Kevin Walker moved from suburbs of Pennsylvania to New York City and described the culture of shock of living in a city undergoing significant rises in crime and drug abuse. While working as a, I didn't know that. Now, this was during the mid 80s. That makes sense. Things in New York City were not so good during that time period. You know what I'm saying? Shit was pretty rough. Guess who was running the city? Anyways. And drug abuse. While working as a sales assistant for Tower Records in 91, this is before Giuliani came in and cleaned up, Walker began writing a special script called Seven, which is set in an unnamed, which I think is an important thing to point out, that the city's never named in the film, bleak and gloomy city that was inspired by his depressing time in New York. Walker said, "It's true that if I hadn't lived there, I probably wouldn't have written Seven. I think it's that way for anything. The right time and the right mood and the right inspiration, whatever inspiration is. That's what's so scary about writing." Film studios were eager for high-concept special scripts. Walker believed his thriller about police officers pursuing a serial killer driven by the 7 deadly sins would attract attention and help begin a professional writing career. Walker intended to leave the script's narrative open to interpretation to avoid invalidating the opinions of the prospective audience. He wanted to defy audience expectations and leave them feeling violated and exhausted by the conclusion. According to Walker, there's lots of evil out there, and you're not always going to get the satisfaction of having any sort of understanding of why that is. That's one of the things that scares people the most about serial killers. For inspiration for writing The Killer, Walker recounted his own experiences of walking down city streets and observing crimes and sins being openly committed on every corner, and asking what would happen if someone specifically focused on these sins. He had no surrender himself to the police because it would rob the audience and characters of the anticipated satisfaction and make them uncomfortable before the finale. I love that was his motivation in doing that. That's great that he did that. That's awesome that was his concept. In the early 1990s, Italian company Penta Film, come on, fucker. Penta Film, under manager Phyllis Carlisle, optioned the script. Walker was paid the minimum fee allowed by the Writers Guild of America, which he described as not being fuck you money, but enough to quit his job, relocate to Los Angeles, and work on Seven. Now, later on, I'll talk a little bit more about the actual development and whatnot and everything, right? But essentially, New Line Cinema did have some gripes with direction that he wanted to go with the story. And there were some small things that were changed. So he didn't get his perfect adaptation, just to be clear. The Seven could have been done differently if it had been done the way he wanted it done. But they, you can't blame the studio. There were aspects of his story that just, I think, cinematically would not have lended to the film. But in terms of the opening scene, and I'm not going to go scene to scene heavily, but in terms of the opening scene, because I do think it's important before the intro that Andres mentions, in the opening scene, essentially, we get, I get the UHF review. I'm sitting here. Here you go, Cyber. I'm going to use the UHF questions and use the UHF review for the movie. Basically, Cyber, detective thriller. You open with Somerset very meticulously in his apartment. In one of the few scenes in the entire film where there's silence. There's very, 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 very few scenes in the entire film where there's ever not background noise of some kind. There's always different levels of it. The music comes in and out during the scenes, but there's always background noise. Always, whether it's phones ringing, whether it's people talking, whether it's trying to give you the urban feel of what it's like to be in the city, right? Even if it's just the rain, the sound of the rain, right? It's there. Only in, I think, 3 or 4 scenes in the entire film do you ever have silence, and in the intro there's no sound at all, except for the basic, things you'd hear as Somerset's dressing, right? Other than that, there's no sound. I just wanted to point that out. This is a deep fucking film. The way that they produced it, whatnot, and everything, and delivered is awesome. Open with Somerset. Right at the bat, they make it clear to you in the audience that he's a very meticulous man. He has a very simple, non-regimental routine. He's very meticulous and he's easy about it, right? In terms of getting ready for work, getting dressed, putting on his tie, right? He's very refined. And right from jump, what they're basically installing is parallelization of character between him and John Doe, right? Which they then flush out throughout the movie. And then in the finale, in the final scene, you really see it flushed out. And, you know, that I believe is probably, for me, I find that relationship is probably, I imagine Walker was probably, he focused directly on that correlation, that character, you know, parallelization between Detective Somerset and John Doe, because they basically, to some extent, believe in some of the same things they do. And we'll get into that. But we get the first murder. Now, the way that they show us and display this, it's very quickly paced. Right, Cyber, Andres, would you not agree? The pace is very quick. There's not much lingering in this film. Right? It almost has like it's somewhat it's like an episode of a TV kind of vibe to it in terms of some of the stuff we've seen where, you know, before where stuff just like the Mandalorian, you know, at times can just it has that kind of vibe to it, that rat-a-tat. There's not much lingering. When there is lingering, it's done well in terms of the scenes and in terms of they shoot.
Well, this scene, well, so the opening when we see Detective Somerset and this, like, wife killing husband saying that, you see right away Detective Somerset was like a very ideal cop. You know, he really cared about solving the crimes and all that, and he's like so world weary, like he's so disdain of the crime and corruption that's been going on to the city he's been living in for a very long time, and particularly the way he talks to the police officer, how he, like, it's like, oh, why are you asking these questions? It's like they both dead, you know, like
yeah. I'm glad you're gonna be gone in a week. Yeah.
It's like, wow, like, you know, like Detective Somerset is doing his job, you know.
Yes. No, Andres, it's them right off the bat. They're trying to basically, again, there's so many premises in this film that are really, really interesting that we could talk about forever. And one of them is the fact that, again, the unnamed city, right from jump, they give you small doses of characters, all basically in some way, you know, either affected by the city and its depravity, and almost gotten to a point where they tolerate and like they almost just find like evil and sin, right? Fine, like just it's a part of daily life, they actually verbally say or vocally will say something about the city, but they don't overtly do much of it. Only really do you ever hear Mill's wife ever say, "I hate this city." One time in the movie, he says that. She says that. That's about it. Which, hey, hats up to Gwyneth Paltrow. She's very limited in the film. Very fucking effective. In a little bit of scenes I gave her. Very effective. I have to believe that this really, between this and Shakespeare in Love, this is really what drove her career. But, again, I digress. The first murder is a basic murder. It's not a part of the 7 sins murders. But, again, and that's why it is quick. But it sets a tone, again, for who Somerset is as a detective. He's very meticulous. He goes by the book, and he's beyond that. Although they don't really talk about this very much, he is very intellectual. He's very deep, right? And he's very intrigued, I think, by what he does, right? He's tired of the city. He's sick of it. He's over it, right? He's done with it. Because at one point, he thought like Mills. At one point, he was very black and white about life and whatnot and everything, and very, like, cowboyish and whatnot and all that. But the city has taken that away from him, right? And he still cares, you know what I'm saying? And he remains meticulous. Yet at the same time, and we'll flesh this out again. We then, again, very quick paced. No origin story shit here, right? throw Mills right in the mix. Young Brad Pitt, I guess, somewhat young, mid-30s Brad Pitt, I guess. Comes in, Detective Mills. All we know about him is he's
31.
31. Okay, age 31. All right. All we know about him at that point is that he's the detective that was brought in from upstate, as we were told later on again by the wife, to basically fill Somerset's spot because he is retiring at the end of the week. 7 days, right? 7 deadly sins, 7 days, and we do get a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the way through. Throughout the film, and I almost feel like it felt a sense of dread build up in me, and the music correlates with it too. Then the background noise and whatnot correlates to when they actually will display those titles. But we get the first murder, and right off the bat, when we first get the rapport between Mills and Somerset, there's obvious tension. There's clearly a sense of imbalance. They're not a good fit for each other. Maybe Mills gives off a vibe of sort of I don't know, grandiosity, possibly, right? Or maybe he just he might be a little shy or nervous about he's in the big city, right? He's in the big leagues for the first time, upstate cop. Detective, right? Either way, now we get the first murder, and Mills, enters the story. Somerset asks him straight up, "Why did you fight to come to this city?" Right? And Mills doesn't really give him much of a response. We don't get at that point, their relationship isn't one where Mills feels it necessary to even even pay attention to him. He doesn't give a shit. But it's prevalent that he asks him that to me. But these happen so quick. They happen so quick. There's no lingering. And so basically, we then have Somerset say to him, given the face of the depravity in the city, he doesn't say that. But in the next 7 days, whatever, I'm out to Mills. You know what I'm saying? Whatnot. You know what I mean? And you sort of need to be, just do what you're told. Somerset uses a Metrodome to sleep at night, which is a device, an old school device. Some people I think still use, not few. I imagine few, where it just ticks from side to side. Like a pendulum almost. It swings from side to side and it ticks. And it helps people go to sleep. It helps them drown out background noise. The first time you hear him use it, you hear the sound of people on the streets yelling. Right? You can't really make out their words, but they sound bad. Like it sounds like it's bad shit. And the Metrodome slowly dulls it out to where he can sleep. And again, that's deep. I think the fact that, there's something about the fact that he uses that sort of device to go to sleep. Even in the 90s, there was better technology to use than that, right? Yeah, he's using that to go to sleep at night. There's a parallelization there with him and John Doe that's heavy because he has that same sort of mentality, that old-fashioned sort of view, and that will bear out. So, the street voices dim out. He falls asleep. We get the intro that Andres discussed with the Nine Inch Nails and basically depicting John Doe's Kevin Spacey character shaving his fingernails, developing film, writing in his notebooks, and at that point, you don't know what these all are all about, but obviously they become very integral to the story. So, basically, in this movie, it's directed by David Fincher, of course, written by Andrew Kevin Walker. It stars Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow, John C. McGinley doesn't really star in it. He's in it. Kevin Spacey, There's several actors that I'm going to mention throughout the film that are in it too that I enjoy. Like for instance, the captain of the police department is what's his name? From that 80s Vietnam War classic movie, Platoon.
Richard Roundtree.
Yeah, he's the captain. So first crime scene, right? Man is forced to eat basically at gunpoint until stomach intestines rupture, right, when he's kicked by John Doe, and when he becomes unconscious from the exhaustion of being just eating over and over again, causes death. The scene's extremely dark. Now at that point you don't know if he's a reclusive or a shut-in, but there's no light. There is no natural light in almost every single scene that you go into. It's very rare there is natural light inside the actual dwellings. It usually is dark, right? Only in certain flitting scenes do you ever actually see an open window during the film. It's very dark. The use of flashlights by especially Detective Somerset is prevalent, right? Not so much for Mills at first, but it is for Somerset. Of course, he's been in the city for a long time. So they assess the crime scene. We get their first time working together, working a case. Again, there's no natural light. It's very dark. I'm not sure who the other, if it's a police officer that's there, or the coroner, or who that is that's there that is doing his job, right, in the scene. But they talk with him, and now he actually is professional about his job and whatnot, and does answer questions and whatnot, right, and he doesn't give any gruff to Somerset, and he actually points out the marks, right, on the side of the man's face where the gun was pointed to him, which Mills then also uses his flashlight, and notices himself. You can hear the rain outside. It's raining in every single scene that you first see in the film with Somerset and Mills. It's always raining, and even at that point, you hear the rain. You can hear it. It's the only background noise at that time is the rain. No silence. Somerset talks to Mills, basically tells him to shut up, right? Because Mills is just running, going on and on and on, whatever and whatnot and everything, and tells him to go join the street officers and whatnot, the plainclothes officers and whatnot, and go out and just canvass the neighbors, right? Which basically he disrespects him, right? It kind of insults him, before that, Mills does find a bucket filled with vomit underneath the fat, grotesquely dead man, the table. Somerset asks if there's blood in the vomit. And of course, Mills retorts, I don't fucking know. You can go look in there or whatever, his usual bullshit, his bravado. And then he goes to help the officers canvass the neighbors. And we'll stop there. So, I'll add in that in the car, Mills is very defensive with Somerset. And, he says, you've seen the things I've done. You've seen my files. Somerset says, no, I ain't seen shit. I ain't seen it. And I found that to be very poignant because, again, he's an upstate cop. Never been in the city in his life, right? You know what I'm saying? And Somerset knows that. Cyberneticshark, if you want to start, sir. Thoughts? As long as you want, have at it on that opening.
On the opening, all right. Up to what point, sir?
To the point where Mills gets pissed off at right. They start to have a little bit of a spat there. Him and Summersby in the car after Summersby just sends him off during the initial checking out that first crime scene, the first actual murder from John Doe, and then them having that bit of a spat in the car, right?
All right. So we were talking about the first crime scene being the heavy set guy that was made to eat. Okay. I just want to make sure I was at the same
That
thought process.
and how they start off with Somerset and they depict him getting ready for work and how meticulous he is. You know what I'm saying? Whatnot and everything. The fact that, like, you know, he does everything in a very set, you know, professional way.
So the beginning of this film, I would have to say that the beginning where we have that Nine Inch Nails song play is really cool. I like how that sets up the film, gets you kind of grooving, gets you kind of moving and wanting to watch the film. I think that was a good way of setting up the film to start it off with, because you know, Nine Inch Nails did a lot of great music during that time frame. And Trent Reznor is a fantastic artist, and so I mean, it was just a really great intro song. But most definitely, I mean, we have that beginning sequence where you mentioned there was the silence, which I think it was kind of like, David Fincher was trying to kind of get people to really pay attention by not having any sound there to get them to start watching the movie. I think that was kind of a play by him that to get you to focus really after, you know, before hearing that good song. So the beginning with Morgan Freeman showing him kind of getting ready for the day, learning and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, he's definitely very meticulous, and you definitely can see that he has a very set way about how he does things. Like you were mentioning, Jeff, about how he is very, you know, he's up to his last time. He's going to retire and everything and be done with the job and everything. So, you know, he's telling Mills to, you know, stay the straight and narrow because he's a straight and narrow type of person. You can see that's kind of like almost like an OCD almost for him. He has to be very particular because unless he does those things like that, he's not going to be able to control everything. And that's what you can tell that Morgan Freeman's character.
He's very impulsive.
He likes to control things. And 6 feet under and so good God, man, you have to get some better taste.
I'd rather review Willow season 2.
Yeah, me too. And anyways, so getting back to Morgan Freeman, so he's very much set on that fucking path. So that's just who he is. So I guess that beginning sequence really kind of gives you an idea of who Somerset is and kind of what you're going to be dealing with throughout the film. And I think that was a really good setup by Fincher in that process, giving us that really great kind of like full picture of who Morgan Freeman's character is going to be like throughout the whole entire film.
Yes, it's short. It's so short too, right?
I think it's the right length. I don't think it's too short. I think it was just enough to give you that taste that you needed to be able to understand who his character was. Because as the movie progresses, of course, we're going to learn some more things and stuff like that from the character. But overall, it gives you the central purpose of who Somerset is. And I think they did it just perfectly there. So, I mean, then moving on to like the first crime scene there, the one before Bill comes into the picture. I mean, I feel that's very basic, very plain. I think it was just kind of to give you an idea a little bit more about who Somerset is when he's dealing with crime scenes and stuff like that, to give you an idea of how he'll be further down the road with other crime scenes. And so I think that's kind of why they bring that up like that and kind of give you a sense once again of who kind of Somerset is. So like I said, when they encapsulate that between those two sequences, I think that's enough time to give you an idea of who Somerset is. So moving on to the introduction of Bill, Brad Pitt's character, I thought was very well conceived. I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was a good introduction. I don't think that Bill's character really needed a lot of introducing in that sequence. So I like how they did that they give you kind of a basic little bit of a telling, so that they could later on bring in more things to learn about him and to kind of keep you at a mystery at who Bill really is. Because when it comes to that very ending conclusion, that's going to play into that. So I think that they did that on purpose so that you have to keep thinking, is Bill really a stable person? Is Bill really who he says he is? And stuff like that. So I think that was a very clever part and great writing by the writers. So then getting to the actual first like homicide, of course, which would be gluttony. I think that whole sequence was very well conceived. I mean, it's very dark, very grotesque, very realistic. I felt that it gave you a really good depiction of, like, if something like this really happened, this is what kind of it would be like. And I thought that they did a good job of giving you more of a realistic approach to it versus making it very theatrical or very campy or something like that. Fincher likes to stay pretty dark to his tones. So I think that, this is perfect image of what Fincher does. And so I think that, like, that whole sequence with, Somerset and Bill shows a kind of a good contrast of how the two think and kind of how their partnership kind of is starting out, and that, Somerset, being set in his ways, has suspicions about Bill, and then Bill being very mysterious, we don't know what
David,
he thinks.
David,
David. Oh, Mills. Mills, that's what I meant to be saying, Mills. And Mills, him being very mysterious and not giving as much information as for Somerset, we have no idea really how he feels about Somerset, because as we go along, we see these different types of emotions from David, from his persona, from who he's like and what he does. And so I think that this sequence kind of gives you a good start off as to kind of what he'd be thinking about, kind of what he's going to be kind of like throughout the rest of the film. And I think that's kind of what that beginning crime scene did, was to kind of give you an idea of what to expect the rest of the film down. Now, am I saying that the film itself is predictable? No, I don't think it's predictable. I just think that it gives you a nice little overlay or kind of a guide to give you an idea of how it's probably going to progress as it goes down the line. And that's kind of how I get that feeling from that beginning sequence. So I think the beginning of this film is a really great start. I think it's really well done. I like the look of it. I like the tones. I like how they kept it very gritty, and it keeps you really enticed to want to know more. And I think it's a really good beginning.
Andres.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you have to, really appreciate Darius Kanji, the cinematographer who did the film. He really does a good job of lighting the film, making the film like this dark and damp, slime kind of city that's like 80s New York City. He worked with a lot of famous directors like Woody Allen and such, and David Fincher's films as well. Yeah, the look of the film really gives you that like Gotham City vibe, and very timeless. Like that's another thing. That's why this film is so popular, is because like you don't know what time period this film is. Like you still see Somerset doing the typewriter, which you're in the 90s. Like computers was kind of there now, but you it's set this kind of almost like 1940s New York kind of feel to this film, but in a modern times. And so that's one of the things that makes
They just play the use of computers and things like that in the precinct or whatnot. When you see in the scenes, it's there. They're there. They're using them.
Yeah. No, it's there. But when you get those kind of like, those old timey things, it makes the film feel like timeless, because you see briefly those technology, and it's like right away gone. It's like you kind of forget about that. That's the thing that makes this film so like timeless. The opening is great. I mean, right away, Somerset is a very control freak kind of detective, very, on his job. Like he's by the book, with Detective Mills. The thing about him, he's this hotshot. He's like trying to, Detective Mills for that. Wants to prove himself as being the best cop. He wants to, like, he still has his like optimism, his ideal of protecting the innocent and uphold the law, before he gets like very corrupt and disdain from the city, which kind of what happened in this movie. He gets completely destroyed by the end of this movie because of the city and whatnot. Um, that opening helps because you see the two contrasts of the detectives. You got the older seasonal cop, and then you got the young brash cop. That's Detective Mills. And yeah, and then one thing I like to bring up was the first kill before we get to the seven sins is you get a sense of the city. That's the thing. You brought up the sound, with the people talking in the streets and the rain, but you also get the sense of the people in the city as well. Like they're so like New York people, like the one, they step on you, they don't care, for some reason. Like you see the cop and then the other cop in the next crime scene they go to with the obese man. It's almost like
It's very authentic. It's very
yeah,
authentic.
like it's very what's the word? Epidemic? I don't know what was the envy, right? Like everyone's just so down for some reason, and then just don't care about the thing in the world around them. So it's really gets you the sense of the dreadiness and the gloom that Somerset is in for so many years, and so you get that sense outside of that. Um, and that the obesity man scene, man, that's so like crime scene correct. I mean, first off, when the I don't know what you call it, the coroner came in and hold the head is like, oh my god, you see his eyes is so creepy, and just right away sent you the sense of, oh yeah, it's just not gonna be that kind of movie. And in the scene where Morgan Freeman and Mills are driving to the hospital to get the autopsy, right? It's interesting to see, because Somerset wants to know about Mills and get a sense why he wants to be in the city. Continuing the conversation from when they first met, and just Mills just wants to start away. He doesn't care about getting to know Somerset. That's the thing. He doesn't slowly get to know Somerset. He just wants to start right away. Start his journey to become the best cop and be the hot shot in town, right?
Somerset has a prickly personality to begin with. He's very meticulous and very refined. You know what I'm saying? He absolutely he finds apathy despicable, which is another one of the another aspects that he shares with John Doe, and that flushes out. That shared disgust for apathy is one of those hardcore themes of the character paralyzation that they share. The character paralyzation with Mills and Summersby is the other focus of the film. Those are the two main focuses. That's what drives the entire story of the film.
Yeah, and what you don't realize, that's Mills. Because why him? But then you realize, because he's full of optimism. He thinks this one way, where Somerset has this more.
Well, of course, that's why he uses Mills as envy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. Which, oh man, I never. The first time I saw that, I was like, oh my god, no.
But you know what I'm saying? It's crazy because honestly, Cyber, I haven't watched this movie in friggin'
Cyber. I'm Andreas.
No, I'm talking to you, and I'm just letting Cyber know that he's a part of the conversation too. That's all. No, you too, Andres. I haven't watched this movie since the 90s, right? So again, I mean, folks, I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying doing these movie reviews sometimes, simply just because it's giving me a reason and an opportunity to go back and rewatch these films that I have not watched since back in the day. And just seeing them with the as an older person, having grown up, and understanding things more and whatnot in the movies and whatnot, I'm how it affects how I view them is interesting, right? It really is. I find it very interesting. And Andres, did you have anything else you wanted to add there and whatnot? I appreciate you mentioning the background noise and whatnot and everything. I think that's a really, really, really cool thing that they inserted that into the film. That the city's almost alive, right?
Yeah.
And it's really at the end of the day, at the end of the movie, who is the villain? is it really John Doe or is it the city? Right? Is there this if the movie has a villain? Is there a villain? Is the villain the city?
I mean,
Right? I mean, think about it.
yeah. You brought up the noises. Like you still hear that throughout the film when, not to jump too ahead, but like
There's
when,
always background noise, except for like I said, 2
yeah,
or 3 scenes that are silent.
yeah, like when Mills is chasing John Doe when they find him in this place, like you hear people background, arguing, and it's like very cool. Yeah, it's very impressive. I mean, David Fincher. I mean, to bring up David Fincher, like he is the master of sound. If you've seen some of his films, like he always does a good job of tuning you in the sound and then trying to like cut off the sound because something is gonna happen or whatnot. Like if you've seen The Social Network, like the famous the show. I don't know if you haven't seen The Social Network, but people, if you do, there's the boat scene, and they use the classic ride of the mountains, a classic musical score that Trent actually scored, and it's really iconic from the Social Network soundtrack. And like that, the build up to that sound and the music, it's incredible. And same thing here, the way when we get to the sloth victim, is like very quiet until the guy goes near him, and then bam, it's like the score comes back, and then it's like, yeah, Fincher is so good with using sound to intensify the horror that you're seeing in these crime scenes and the action that your characters are facing, and the situations they're going through.
Sure, most definitely. That's fine. So no, and basically right from there, we just just to be real quick and kind of like go get more to you guys talking and get you right back in the game. I mean, things are pretty simplistic. Like I wrote a 19-page outline because there just happens to be a lot of things that I noticed while I was watching the film I could not stop but want to write about. Right? You know what I'm saying? Whatnot. I wanted to write them down and whatnot because I found them personally interesting. Right? Of course, I'm not going to be able to ask you guys questions about all these things and whatnot. I wish I could, but I can't. But I'm getting older and whatnot and everything. And I'm realizing that by having these long ass outlines, later on, if I want to use any of this stuff and further content and whatnot, or make like individual content or do shorts or something, I can use it for that. Right? So there you go. Either way, Andre's a little bit of that, adding the content creation, deal into the show type deal. Remember? So anyways, basically, we get the actual autopsy scene. Now, the actor who actually plays the coroner at the autopsy scene is from the show Oz. And I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's really good. I like him. But he's from Oz. From the show Oz. I'll pull him up in a minute. But
he's R.E. 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 I cannot say his last name. Carthy. He's played Dr. Santanko. That's the character that's in the
Reg E. Carthy.
Carthy. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, he's from Oz, and he plays the Storm's father from the reboot Fantastic Four.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, and he's in House of Cards. I think that's another thing. He's connected to Fincher.
Oh, I never saw that. No. But anyway, so basically we have the autopsy, and it's really if anything, it's just more of your typical procedural detective drama type scene. You know what I'm saying? Not more of the rapport between Mills and Somerset. And essentially, the coroner just simply explains that he was held at gunpoint and forced to eat until literally he literally passed out from exhaustion, and that's when John Doe kicked him and he burst. So his intestines and his stomach burst, and that's what killed him. Somerset, with the captain, and with Mills right in front of him, basically says this is it. Like this is the beginning of something. I don't want a part of this. I want off this case. Right? He's like, I obviously, I mean, right there, he's like, he knows this is heading somewhere. Right? Even the captain is like, oh, this is just going to be another one of these fucking, you know what I'm saying? It's whatever, same old shit. You know what I mean? Whatever, So from jump, Somerset is sort of letting people, he's trying to tell people like, yo, this is going to escalate. But even Somerset, though, is not heavily like concerned enough to want to like shout it off rooftops, right? Like, yo, this shit's about to get deep. You know what I mean? Whatnot, because even he's been so affected, like you said, by the city, Andres. You know what I mean? Like even he has like lost his passion, right? And if anything, it takes what happens throughout the whole film to bring it back in him at the end. I'd like to believe, but regardless, essentially, Mills says, "I'll take the case." The captain's like, "Fuck you, Mills." You know what I'm saying? I'm putting you on some other shit or whatever. And tells Mills, look, I don't care if you're retiring. I need you on this, old buddy. Right? So from there, we walk out and we get the district attorney in front of they do a good job in this film also of using the news media and using news on TV and whatnot and everything as background noise, but also as a part of the story. So we get the district attorney in the front of the media talking about the second murder, right? Of I believe it's Eli Gold, who is a high, well-paid, high-level defense attorney, a scumbag, basically, right? One of those scumbag defense attorneys that, makes a shitload of money and whatnot, getting like child rapists off and shit like that and whatnot, right? And essentially, when Mills walks into the second murder scene by himself, we then translate right over from the live action district attorney talking to the media to him to Mills watching and listening in the background, him talking to the media, right? And now this is becoming a public issue and whatnot and everything because this guy's well known. Now, at that point, this is greed, right? And we don't know that yet, but we see. Or no, I think greed is actually on the floor. I'm sorry, it's right there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the floor. Yeah,
it's on the floor. No, so right there, basically, I believe in that scene, we see, the background noise is there the whole time too. Oh, the wife's picture having her eyes bloodied out, with blood, right? And that we don't know what that is yet, but it becomes important. The captain in Somerset discussed the new murder. Captain gives him metal shards from the coroner found inside the fat man's stomach, which he says were fed to him. This becomes relevant upon Somerset visiting the crime scene, something Mills would have never do, right? Somerset goes there at night on his off-duty time, goes to the crime scene, right? And goes out in there with the flashlight. And it's night, you do, because it is night when he goes there. And he realizes when he, that the shards, once he moves the refrigerator, right? I believe, if I remember correctly, they came from the refrigerator, from pushing it. And that's when he then finds the first, what would have been the first of the 7 deadly sins, which are, of course, I believe, gluttony, right? Before greed. It's gluttony, yes, greed, sloth, wrath, pride, and I believe lust and envy, right?
Yep.
Right. I actually have read Dante myself personally. Not that I'm trying to brag or anything like whatnot and everything, but I have read Dante and I have read a lot of the shit that's in that movie. But that was a long time ago. I read Dante when I was 13. Yep, Dante's the Paradise Lost. I read it at 13 years old. The best way to make money on the fuck is not with physical products. Shut up, bitch. Oh, shut up. Oh, well, fuck you.
Just pause it.
I took care of it. Don't worry, I got it. Thank you, Andres.
Okay.
Anyways, so basically, you know, the shards are from moving the fridge, at which point the word gluttony is found written in Greece. You know, Milton Paradise Lost, of course, you know, it becomes prevalent in conversation in the precinct because, of course, you know, Milton wrote about the 7 deadly sins. Now, I've also read Milton. In fact, I think own one of his books. But essentially, again, we get, even though it should be glaringly obvious at this point, Somerset flat out saying, like, look, I'm still retiring, and like, you got 5 more murders, right? So good luck, Mills. You know what I mean? Whatnot, right? Like, he's like interested and like curious. You can tell, like, you know, that's one thing about Somerset is he's curious about people. He's curious about it. He likes, there's a aspect of his job I think he enjoys, even as much as the city has taken the toll on him. So the release date of this film was September 22nd, 1995. The runtime is 127 minutes. Budget was 33 to 34 million. The box office was 327.3 million. Thank you, Wikipedia. Now, basically, from there, we get Somerset going to the library. Again, I believe like in the middle of the night, right? What a surprise. It's dark as fuck in there, right? All the areas where Freeman goes to look for the books are dark. He has to use his flashlight again. He uses his flashlight quite a bit to try to find. He's doing research, you know, putting together information to just, you know, for the case and for Mills, right? That's when he uses the typewriter. And, right. And, basically, you know, at one point, I don't know who that, I should have looked it up. I don't know who that singer is that sings that Italian song, that opera song, and whatnot, but it's actually very beautiful. The security guard plays and whatnot, and everything. Wow. It's one of the few moments in the film where it's something positive actually occurs. I enjoyed that music. I like that song. But he spends his time there in the library. I guess he's well known there, obviously, you know. Basically, he puts together a packet for Mills, you know, research material, stuff he should read, a list of books that, like, you know, like Dante, for instance, and whatnot, right? You know, that will help him facilitate the case. Part of being a detective, right? Is this you know, are these different aspects of the, you know, of the investigation. Mills isn't like that kind of shit. If you don't notice pretty quickly, he's sort of impulsive and like short-tempered, and he'd rather be in action, right? Like he came to the city to like shoot people and be in gunfights and shit and whatnot, everything, right? Like the Wild Wild West, you know what I mean, whatnot, and be a do-gooder. He didn't come there to fucking read books, right? So of course, you know, when you see him and they parallel his process of like doing his research and whatnot, he's like pissed off, like, you know, putting his head up and sighing. He ends up just getting a beer and watching sports, right? And shit and whatnot, while the whole time, like, you know, Somerset's working and reading and actually taking notes and shit. So basically, you know, you end up with, in the morning, you get Mills, and he actually has somebody drop off the cliff notes to all the books just to show how like unprofessional he is. Like how you know, how he doesn't even take this shit seriously. He doesn't. He has a very black and white sense of how everything works in life. And that's how he views his job, is that lens. Which is something that, you know, that John Doe plays off of at the end. Either way, essentially, you know, Mills actually even says, like, fuck Dante, fucking, you know, poet fag. You know what I'm saying? Whatnot. He actually uses homophobic slurs a couple times in the film. You know what I'm saying? Whatnot, just to sort of like, you know, give you an idea of like what type of guy he is. Now, again, this is the 90s. So either way, you know, essentially, this gives you kind of an omen of what kind of character Mills is. The young hotshot vet, you know, young hotshot, you know, detective, while Summerby is more of like the grizzled, experienced veteran city detective who was kind of in the city pretty much his whole life. Mills' wife calls in and asks to speak to Somerset, invites him to a late supper at Mills' apartment. Enter Tracy, Gwyneth Paltrow. Tracy is much more refined and composed than David. And she likes Somerset, you can tell. They get along very well. And essentially, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but Tracy feels unnerved by William's gun. He actually says to her, I feel the same way. She asks him why he's not married. He doesn't really get deep into it, but says he once was. The young couple have never lived in the big city, we find out right at that point, right? When a train runs through like after dinner drinks and everything and whatnot, and we see Somerset laugh and tell a joke for the only time in the film, I think, other than one only time with Mills before they actually go in the car with John Doe.
With John Doe, yeah.
Yes,
it's only like two once. He
makes a joke and whatnot and everything that's almost kind of above David, right? Like, but Tracy gets it, whatnot. He says, something like your own, gyrating home or whatever, whatnot, and everything, right? And they crack up and whatnot. And even then, Mills is pissed. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like being made fun of like that, right? So, Gold, like I said, was a big defense, attorney. He was bound and gagged, given with his free hand a butcher knife, and then set in front of him a scale, and given told basically with a gun to his head to give out his pound of flesh, and given the choice to go ahead and do that over the course of, I guess, of a whole weekend, right? That's how long John Doe had him, and decide what he wanted to cut off of him to come up with that scale to come up with his pound of flesh. Basically the sermons of the 7 deadly sins were meant for atonement for sins. Summerby says that there's something missing, right? There's a piece we're not seeing. That's when Gold's wife's picture with the eyes blotted out becomes obviously important. And at that point, they go to her. She looks over at the pictures and tells them that one of the paintings is upside down in the office. And at that point, basically, when they go, the 2 detectives, when they go back to the scene, Summersby, once he dusts the wall, finds with fingerprints the words "help me," right on the wall, and like I guess in invisible ink essentially, and they go. What's that? Is that what it is?
Yeah, someone or it's like we call it night light kind of night light marker that some of the artists use.
Okay.
So if you don't you have to flash the words in a particular light and you see the letters. That's how the killer did it. Yeah.
No, so basically, they use the fingerprints. They go to the forensics and whatnot and everything, and they're waiting for the results. They sit there and bullshit and whatnot. They fall asleep. By now, it's Thursday, and when they wake up, it's time for action because they've got a hit on those fingerprints, and it is basically Victor, right? Whose real name is something else. I forget, but it's he goes by Victor. He's like a street criminal, piece of garbage, that I guess at one point was charged with raping a child. And what a shock, Eli Gold got him off, right? So there you go. Basically, so after waking up from talking about the process of the investigation, from the hit from the fingerprints, they end up with SWAT. They go on what would be they go to hunt down this person. in the car ride. You know, Mills asked Somerset if he's ever taken a bullet. And you hear Mills once again kind of reminiscing nervously, or maybe because he's excited, I guess. You know, in his cowboy-esque way. Throughout this, you know, in what is like, you know, the on the way to like what could be like a shootout almost. You don't know. And it again just sort of flushes out this whole black and white lens he has in a city where everything is gray. Right? Because that's where the city's at. It's a gray city. Everything is gray. Everyone is gray in the city. Everyone is. Which I didn't realize until I watched it now, but it is. So they storm Victor's apartment. And this is where you see John C. McGinley for like briefly. They find him in a bed and he looks fucked up, man. He looks like a mannequin. And right, one of the SWAT dudes is like, "You got what you deserve, you scumbag," shoots a flashlight in his eye, and Victor pops alive. Right? At the hospital, he's been strapped to this bed for a year. They have the pictures documenting him from like the beginning of the year. This is the day, the actual last day of the year. Right? Just to show you how meticulous John Doe is. When they go to the hospital, they realize they're not going to be getting any information from this guy because basically the doctor says flat out that, hey, you know, this man cut off his tongue a long time ago. He's experienced more pain and suffering than I've ever seen anyone experience in his life, and he's still got hell to look forward to. Right? So, you know, at that point, we get at one point a photographer trying to take pictures of Mills, and Mills kicks him, throws his camera, swears him. But I think that was John Doe. Actually, I think that was him. I think that was John Doe. That was the photographer in that scene. At that point, the doctor says Victor ain't gonna be talking anytime soon. Tracy calls Somerset, saying she needs to discuss, you know, something with him and whatnot, and she has no one else to talk to or knows anybody in the city but him. Stop there. Andres, thoughts, sir, on that swath of the film?
Yeah. Best sequence ever of the film. I mean, first off, I appreciate that the investigation of the clues are not at your face. It's like very hidden, and you don't realize that, oh, okay, here's the clues here. Like, that was such a neat thing when we watching this film. I forgot that, you know, the wife is going to point you to this clue that you're missing, that the picture is upside down, and that's like very clever of the killer just telling out loud for the detectives. And importantly, you see the different set of skills that Somerset and Mills display. You know, Mills does a very like shortcut way of trying to get results. You know, like I don't know, like you saw while he was getting into the car to, I think, meet Somerset, he has this package from this cop that came to him, and he has the books of Dante, all covering the seven sins, but in like a, I guess, scholarly kind of book way. I don't know what you call those, like, book covers, where Somerset is deadpan like doing actual research and going into detail, like Stanley Kubrick way of understanding, okay, what's the seven deadly sins, what's all the meanings, all the quotes, that the killer is displaying, because you recognize it, and like he's going through it, step by step, which you see in the film. And yeah, and then of course the sloth. Man, story two. Oh my god, don't tell me, Sorry, you don't like The Wire. All right, okay, anyway, I'm not gonna get it.
The Wire is fucking awesome.
Yeah. Oh my god, you're gonna piss HBO fans here now. This shadow. Anyway, the sloth. Oh my god, the sloth sequence. Like, the size, who is in the box sequence. This is another sequence people talk about, is the sloth. So apparently the reaction that the cop does when the sloth victim wakes up, it was actually real because apparently Fincher didn't um, tell them that the victim was alive, and so that's really great, like great suspense, that they were expecting. Yeah, that sloth sequence is so haunting. Like the fact that first off, holding him for a whole year and like just teasing the cops with the photographs from his capture to the end is so creepy. And of course, this is where there's a little bit of humor here. Like the cops or the SWAT team are very cocky. Uh, like there was one line from the cops say, "Move away, dicks. The SWATs are here." and of course, Somerset say, "They really love their job." Before they're knocking the door down to the Slav's apartment. But yeah, just hearing the doctor saying the Slav victim is it's like not going to talk. It's just really like I don't know how that person survived from a whole year of torture. So that was really haunting.
Because that was the purpose. That was John Doe's goal, was to keep him alive for that long.
Yeah, and it's just and just him degraded. It's just like oh my god, the makeup is really great here. Like that and the Beastman's makeup is pretty impressive. Yeah, and then after that, we get the Tracy, Morgan Freeman, right? Discussion, you know, um, dinner.
I
Diner
didn't.
scene.
Yeah, you can go into that if you want. I didn't go that far, but yeah, you can
Okay.
go ahead and jump into that. Yeah, where she basically
Yeah.
just tells him about being pregnant.
Yeah. So because like right away that is going to be later important later on. But that's also a important scene because you get to learn more about Somerset's character because the other scene he mentioned that oh yeah he was in a relationship, and then here you got the full on story of why he didn't continue on his marriage because he didn't want to raise a kid in the city because of how dark and how dangerous the job slash the city was at that time, and like you kind of understand that, and then him saying that he every day he still thinks that decision and regrettably hates that decision that he did. So yeah, trying to comfort her. And I like the advice he gave her. Like, if you're gonna get rid of the child, don't tell Mills. If you're gonna keep the baby,
Yeah.
Which second time I was like, oh my god,
Her emotion in that scene is literally like is so authentic. I thought.
Yeah. Well, and just a tidbit, Gwyneth and Pritt did date during this time.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, dude, that's right. I forgot about that. You're right. They were together. That's right.
yeah, so their chemistry is very real because they were dating, and it really works in this film. And yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow is great in this film. Like every scene she's in, it's like you remember her, which is great. So yeah, so I think the sequence is really great. I mean, because you're already hooked on the film already. This is like top tier, just like okay, what's going on? And you brought up the Jane Doe photographing the cops, the detectives. Like I didn't know that the first time. Like I didn't realize that was Kevin Spacey's character taking the picture of Mills and Somerset. And so it was great to discover. Well, not great, but like it was a great payoff. That oh my god, he's the killer. And he was right under his nose. So it's just great. But yeah, I love this sequence. I mean, this is where David Fincher really excels the horror elements. Like that, the sloth sequence is like a horror movie out of nowhere, and it's like very haunting, and it's one of the best like jump scares really. If we have to be, it's one of the best jump scares I've seen in my whole life. So
Okay, Cyber Sir, your thoughts on that swath of the film?
Where did we end?
Right at the diner discussion between veteran Summersby and Tracy, where she announces the pregnancy.
Okay. So So this portion of the film, I don't think it was horrible. I don't think it was slow at any means. I think every single part had a really good uh foreseeing for this section of the film. I like how it played out. I like how it was nice and it got to the point and moved on. And like you were saying, how it earlier about how it's kind of like a TV show almost. I can see what you're talking about a little bit there, but at the same time, I think that in this movie, in order to keep going, you have to get to A to B quickly, anyways, because there's so much story to tell. And with this, talking about the seven deadly sins and all that kind of stuff, I think that each of these sequences that lead up to the diner sequence worked really well together. And I thought they were just enough to really bring out what it needed to get a point to, get the point across. That sequence there where Somerset is doing the research at the library and all the old computers and Hill Mills is there, and he has kind of his gruff with it. I really like that sequence. So the fact that it really kind of helped emphasize really how Mills, how much different and how different he is from Somerset. I like that they really explained that in that sequence. They gave us a really good point there and really emphasized to try to also bring together to kind of get you thinking through the rest of the film to understand kind of what brings Mills to kind of his outbreak at the end of the film that we'll get to eventually. And kind of just like that, bringing that together and kind of giving you an idea of how much of a hothead Mills is kind of there. It gives you kind of a sense of that too, but doesn't give you too much that you are, yeah, this guy's definitely going to have issues. He's going to really pop up. You kind of think of him as a hothead. You think, oh, maybe he's kind of got an intro. He's not too bad, but you don't know that mystery. I like how they keep that mystery going, all the way up to the very end of this film. So leading after that, I think just the rest of the sequences, we come across another crime sequence, which has to do with the lawyer guy or the attorney guy, which I remember watching that for the first time and seeing the dead body bent over, and it was like in those underwear. I was kind of thinking of myself, is that supposed to be a woman or is that supposed to be a dude? I couldn't tell because the underwear I felt kind of looked like women's panties. It didn't look like a guy's pair of underwear. It looked like women panties. So I wasn't sure what was going on there, but there was some underlying meaning there or something. But I still, at the same time, was kind of like, is that supposed to be a woman or a man? And then they, kind of pan around the body and you kind of see that it's a man. But still, it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, interesting. And so after, they come across that sequence there, which was a pretty, basic crime scene sequence. They discuss what's happened, what they think happened, kind of the idea of what happened, and, kind of move it along. And then we go, of course, to the coroner sequence, which Reggie Cathy, who was a great actor. I loved him. First movie I ever saw him in was The Mask, actually, back in 94. And unfortunately, he passed away a couple years ago, which is too bad. He was a really good actor. But that sequence was really well constructed. I thought I liked how, his presence was made known as his character. Like he really did a good job of bringing that to life and giving us a really solid interpretation of somebody, that realizes something really out there is happening, pushes himself away from it. And I like that. I liked how Reggie Cathy did a good job of that, giving us that character. And I just liked how the other guys interacted, Somerset and Mills, both of them, how they interacted with it too. And they kind of got the vibe like, ooh, there's something more serious about this than we're coming together about, even though they kind of have an idea of that it's about the seven deadly sins, but at the same time, it's like, they're still treating it like it's just a normal kind of like everyday crime sequence or crime scene. And so I think that, that really helps them to kind of grasp that this is a little more serious than they're coming to thinking about at first. And I feel they did a good job of giving us kind of that knowledge in that sequence, kind of interpreting and kind of pushing forward, saying, hey, there's more to this than you guys are figuring out. It's going to get worse as it goes along. And that's kind of how that sequence, I thought, really encompassed. And then after, that basically the sequence where uh Somerset gets invited to dinner. We have that sequence at the apartment, which I felt was kind of like the slower part of the film, or this sequence of the film, giving us kind of that little more of a knowledge of who these characters are. As we get a little bit more idea of who Gwyneth Paltrow's character is. We get more a little bit in depth into who Mills is a little bit more. We kind of get that idea of there's more reasons to why he came to this city and wanting to do more with his career. And you kind of get a little bit of that in that sequence. And of course, Somerset being the anal retentive OCD guy, as I like to call him in this, you can see just like some of the questions he talks about or says things, you get that feeling about just like he's being a dick. I feel like he's totally being a dick about things, because he's going to be retiring and all this stuff. So I think that really encompassed well. And you kind of get more of the reason why kind of Mills doesn't like him too much, because of this kind of attitude that Somerset has. And I could understand being a newer guy in the field and dealing with a guy that's been in the field a long time that's getting ready to retire.
That's why I was trying to flush out earlier, Cyber, in the beginning, whatnot, all that was sort of that, like the fact that they never talk about that in the film much. They don't point it out, but it's there.
And so it's like perfect how they bring that together and kind of give you a better idea of what their working relationship is in that sequence. And I feel they do that throughout the film in several scenes, but this one I feel was the most poignant of those sequences that really emphasized it very well. And I thought they did a really good job with that. And then leading up to after that, I feel is basically kind of, a little bit more of the story, kind of get you more in depth, more research and stuff like that, to leading up to the diner sequence. So I think that whole section of the film was really well done. It was really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. And I thought that it was a really good kind of like middle section of the film that keeps you enticed and keeps you wanting more.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that and Andres, you can jump in on this too if you want after Cyber. I think that Fincher did a great job of handling the sort of, I guess, exposition, right? The character exposition to be able to help us derive that, their arc in front of us, right? To display it, you know what I mean? In a way that's unique and very rare, because he did it on the fly, right? Again, there's no lulls. There's nothing boring. There's no boring shit where we have to sit through whatever and whatnot. It's on the fly, and it all matters. You know what I mean? It's not fluff, right? You know what I mean? Whatnot. Literally, it affects the intrinsic aspects of the dynamics between people like Summersby, and Mills, and their relationship, and how it evolves throughout the movie, right?
I agree. I mean, their relationship starts to, like, the dinner scene is where they come closest to work together as a team. Like, that whole dinner scene, it's like them becoming like actual partners, and like throughout the movie they like are like in the scene together as partners finally, because they have the well, oh my god, okay. Well, good news is, folks, I found
What
out
about Band of Brothers, man? What about Band of Brothers, baby?
Oh my god, no. Man, let's not go into the deep. Oh, he's never seen it. Oh, okay. We can do something about that. But yeah, I think their relationship starts to grow like really strong here in the movie after the dinner scene. Like especially the funny scene where they sleep together on the couch. Like it's a very funny, but like it shows how they like really becoming a team and not like.
Oh, that was a couch, Andres? They slept together on a couch?
Yeah, well, it was after.
There's a bench at the fucking precinct, man.
Bench? What's that bench? I don't
they
know.
They don't have couches at police precincts.
Well, you can do anything you want with a movie. I mean, you could just put a couch in the area. I need to rewatch that scene. I think it looked like a cow. That's the thing. It's funny.
Maybe you're thinking of She-Hulk. Anyways,
No,
Cyber,
don't blink She-Hulk.
Cyber, what do you think, sir? Would you agree with me that I believe that that Fincher did a excellent job of handling the exposition?
Yeah, I think
Right?
so.
I mean, it's through on the fly almost, right? It's very connected, right? Light. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they don't give us a ton, but it's enough to give us a chance to actually watch the characters' arcs develop. And I just found it kind of unique that way he went about it, because there's no lulls in the film at all, where like they just talk and it's boring. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? No, I thought that was really well done. And I think that it's important to point out and whatnot and everything that we really after the diner scene, we don't see Gwyneth Paltrow again. I don't think. No. So
Briefly in bed.
Briefly in bed, yes. She has very little screen time in this film. Yet, because of the way that the film is designed around the central figures and central characters of the film, her character is still very instrumental, and she did a great job.
I thought she was okay. I don't think that she was very vital to the, to the story. I mean, her, the ending of the film, yes, her presence is supposed to be there, but we don't see her. So I guess that her essence is really needed, but her performance overall in the film itself, I thought was just pretty basic. I didn't think it was anything special.
Okay. You know what? And maybe that could be that. Maybe that could just be a feeling I felt while watching the film, and just because of in the moment. You know what I mean? As the suspense is building, saying whatnot, right? And you're enjoying the film. Maybe you know how that can be. But
Are we talking about the wife, Tracy?
Yes, Tracy. Yeah, I was just saying I thought that she did a great job. Gwyneth Paltrow did not get much screen time in this film.
No, but I think she does a good job of the amount of time she gives of this very distraught woman that doesn't like the city, as we say in the diner. But it also shows how the movie talks about how this is like you see Miles having the perfect life he's gonna get, with the kid and all, and then just taken away. It's like so heartbreaking, because she was like the light for this, for Detective Mills. Oh my god, I cannot say this. Mills, Brad Pitt's character, throughout the movie, because that's how he is grounded as a person. But then what if you took away that person that he really loves? It just, it's like I don't like comparing this, but another thing that I always heard about this, like, it's similar to The Dark Knight. If you pay attention, like, it's similar themes. Like, if you compare how Detective Mills is a little bit like Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face, and like how the Joker was trying to prove that everyone could go bad in The Dark Knight, and so like he, the way to do it was to kill off Rachel, the love interest that Harvey / Batman likes, and I, Seven, you see how John Doe is trying to prove this world is so
Pity.
Pity, and so he just goes to the lengths of using these innocent people to prove a point, and it's like
They're not innocent, but that's the thing. They're not innocent, right?
Well,
and that all gets flushed out. No, we'll talk about that. But that he explains all that. They're not innocent. None of them are innocent.
He's not innocent either. So
the city's not innocent. It's gray, and that's why he does what he does. It's because he needs to do something, his work, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To remind people, what that things are fucked up, to really get their attention, to be like, we got to change this shit. So that's why I said to you, who's the villain in this movie? There really is none. Is he the hero of the film? I don't know.
I disagree. He is the villain.
I'm just saying. I'll ask at the end. So no, but the scene at the diner is very emotional, and it really it adds a lot of depth to Somerset's arc, right? And Cyber, I agree. Andres, I agree 100% that at the very least, Tracy is a conduit that ends up allowing them to then build something together, right? In a way, she's able to be a gateway to where you sort of see a sense of from Somerset of wanting to like Mills personally and like understanding him more, I thought. But from there, things really kind of go fast. Right? They do. And I'm cognizant that we're at the hour and 40-minute mark, but I can tell you right now, basically, I'm only going to mention I'm going to break everything up into two other parts for, the final scene. You guys can basically, we all know what goes on and how it goes down. I don't need to describe the shit word for word. It's not complicated, right? You guys can riff on that all you want. But beyond that, we do get sort of, the rest of the murders that are necessary before we get that final scene, which is, again, on its own, probably a masterpiece. It's probably one of the best final scenes ever in like maybe the history of film. I think. But then again, I haven't seen everything. The whole thing with Summer, then a day goes by, like you said, Andres, that I don't wish I'd made a different decision. Right? That was very poignant. But no, so Mills is sort of stir crazy. With his lens, he wants to assume that John Doe is some kind of freak. He's a homosexual. He's probably wearing his mom's panties or whatever, Grammy's panties or whatever, whatnot. He needs to see these things this way. It's all he knows. He doesn't have the depth of understanding because he hasn't lived in the gray, right? Like Somerset has for so long. And this is where the parallelization, the character parallelization, I believe, of Somerset and John Doe really kicks in. Is sort of, thinking about the effort and dedication it would take to do something like with Victor and tie a human being to a bed, right? Pay his rent on time every month, inject shit into him to keep him alive every day, install ports and whatnot and everything to allow his waste to be vacated and whatnot, and then clean that up weekly, every couple of days, whatever, whatnot. This is a meticulous dude. And I think that event on its own for Somerset was probably something that he found almost probably he was inquisitive about and scared him. You know what I'm saying? And he explains that to Mills, right? So basically, Mills is stir crazy. Well, Somerset says, okay, well, how much money you got? I know what we can do. And he gets a Fed agent to come in and give him, right, an address for John Doe, right, based off of their database they have from essentially illegally, sort of like kind of wiretapping in a way, people's library records and the books that they are taking out and whatnot and everything, and they have a database in the system, and they're able to target Doe through that. When they show up at the address, they're shot at immediately when John Doe pops up, and he's very accurate with a handgun. He must have trained on his own or whatever, whatnot, because he can shoot. He doesn't want to shoot Mills or Summersby. Remember that. He doesn't want them to die. What I'm saying? They're a part of the plan. So when he's shooting at them, he's always shooting just to shoot. Right? You know what I'm saying? And whatnot, and get away, not to actually shoot anybody. That's why he doesn't kill Mills. But Mills chases him, and you see that when he's actually chasing him, he looks pretty proficient, like very, very professional. He knows how to handle all of the corners and whatnot and everything. He looks good doing what he's doing. But this is John Doe's territory, right? He's expected this happening at some point anyway. He gets the upper hand. You see again the contrast when Summersby knows how to use the fire escape to decel, to get down to the bottom of the street on the outside of the building. Mills tries to do it and like fucks up and almost falls off, right? Because he's not used to that shit. He's probably never seen a fire escape before. You know what I mean? Whatnot. And again, these small things, right? They do this, to give us this contrast, right, between the characters. And you see even then, I think Mills is learning from Somerset at that point, right? He's started to gain respect for him, I believe.
I mean, as a person, but he doesn't learn his way of thinking. That's the problem with Mills in the film. Like,
no, I think I'm talking about as a cop.
Yeah, I think he respects him as a cop. I agree in that, but I just want to separate that. I don't think he really takes on the advice that I think Somerset.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about simply the way that they're doing their jobs. He's learning. He is capable. He's learning from Somerset. He is.
I don't think so. Just the way the ending is. It's like
we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the personal again. So we end up basically with a really well shot. Everything's well shot, but again, it's raining. Right? There's all kinds of crazy background noise throughout the whole chase scene. There's phones ringing, people talking, chattering, whatnot, everything. There's music in and out during it, right? And then there is silence when John Doe holds the gun on his head. And, they slow it down. Mills says no. When they do flip the camera shot over to John Doe, right? They use a very simple tactic of simple auto focusing. They simply decide to the simple measure of a camera or camcorder of focusing or focusing out on something. And that's all they do. That's why when you see John Doe, he has no face. It's all blotted. It's because he's out of focus. That's all it is. It's not an effect. It's nothing like that at all. It's just literally, it's they didn't focus the lens. That's all they did. It's a zoom in, zoom out without a focus. And I know that from my own, use of cameras and whatever and whatnot. That's awesome. It's such a simple thing, but that's all they did. Right? Is literally just, and that's again, I think that's awesome. I love that aspect. What would you say, Cyber? Cinematography, outstanding in this whole film, right? Even with the dreary lighting and everything and whatnot, and the rain effect and all that and whatnot.
I mean, it's decent. I wouldn't say it's the best cinematography I've seen. It's not the greatest, but I think it's decent for this film. There's definitely some shots I feel, especially in the chase sequence, when they're going after John Doe, that are very camera holder, like the person's running with the other camera to get the shot. It's not steady cam like it was, like 10 years later. They were still using a lot of people actually holding the cameras running while doing these sequences. So I think there definitely there could have been improvement with the camera and cinematography, but the cinematography was pretty basic for this film. Simply the fact that it wasn't a lot of city shots or landscape shots. It was very much
urban,
mostly urban. It was very much, inside buildings, stuff like that. So I don't think the cinematography was, anything spectacular in this.
It wasn't a focus. It
definitely was okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was a huge focus for them, really. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, because of those things, Cyber. The cinematographer was Darius Kanji, and yes, no. This is not exactly the kind of vehicle where you would expect, like Cyber said, it's not like Last of Us where there's these wide open prairie shots and whatnot, everything where like fucking Stevie Wonder could take the shot and like, you know what I'm saying? And he'd be able to fucking figure out that it was perfect, like a perfect shot or whatever. Right. So, no, but, what did you think, Andres? I mean, considering like Cyber pointed out that there's not much to work with in terms of what you're shooting in this movie. Like everything is all centered in an urban environment, right? It is, and it's all close angle too. There's no big shots. There's nothing widescreen, you know what I'm saying? Whatnot. There's no need for it, right? It's still pretty solid. I think the cinematography is pretty decent.
Yeah, as I said before, I think the cinematography here is great by Darius Kanji. just the way he lights the dark scenes. Like,
Yes.
I mean, that's what I'm aiming at. Like, I mean, yeah, we don't see the whole city, but at the same time, it's like it's very impressive that they keep a lot of the scenes in these dark, you know, rainy scenes, very light, like lit pretty well.
That's an
So
intentional aspect. It is. You're right. The lighting is really key when you're shooting all these scenes and whatnot that are all set in section, in areas where you're inside of dwellings where there's no natural light.
exactly.
Right.
So that's the impressive thing about this movie, and I think that the close, like being in these close up apartments and all that gives you the mood of like being suffocated with the
Yes.
crime.
Yes,
so like
the lack of natural sunlight and the lack of natural lighting in all the scenes and whatnot a lot of times also gives off the impression of suffocation and like almost like the people in the city are trapped, right? You know what I'm saying? Like they're almost imprisoned in a way, right?
Yeah. And you brought up the chase scene. What I like about the chase scene is like it's like a realistic chase scene for police, because every time you see these action movies, like our characters know where they're going when they're chasing after the bad guy for some reason, and it's like it doesn't make sense. Here, in Seven, I appreciate how David Fincher and the writer make this chasing be realistic. You see how Somerset doesn't know where like both Somerset and Mills are not knowing where the train dough is going. We need to bring up something. This is funny. I brought up The Dark Knight, and we had this big issue back in 2008 with wiretapping, and it's funny in this movie. Somerset knows that the FBI is keeping tabs on people by like checking on the library cards or the IDs of these
The library records, yes.
Yeah, the library record. That is completely like I don't know what I feel about that. That's like me being violated on my privacy. But that's the gray area, because look at this. That scene showed that they almost got Jane Doe, because he wasn't expecting that at all. That they were going to go to that apartment. Like they were like one step at him for that point, because remember the phone call he did. He calls after that.
Oh yeah, no, he says I would. He didn't know. He did not think that they would find him like that. No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Coming on his own. He did.
Yeah.
No. So then at that point, Mills wants to enter the apartment, right? They go back and forth. Somerset's at this point, he's not being rude or anything, or he's not mad at Mills. He realizes that Mills, he understands him being emotional, but he says, look, if you kick that fucking door down, right, like we're not this guy's gonna walk. You know what I'm saying? We're not right, like right from jump. Any evidence we find inside the apartment is going to be invalidated anyway, right? Because it's illegal entry. Well, we get another parallel, right? Because he kicks the door open, but he flips it around and says, how much money we got left? And he goes and pays like a homeless woman to lie to to a plainclothes police officer on the street. Just lie, make up a story. You know what I mean? Not right to validate them opening and entering the fucking apartment, right? Which I loved that spin, right? That he did that, right? Somerset did his thing with the FBI. Then Mills turns around, right? He's not even from the city, but he knew, right? And this is where this is what I'm talking about, where you could tell he's learning from Somerset, right? You know what I mean? Like on his own, he knew instinctively to go to a homeless person and go do that. He's from upstate. He's not from the city. So you know what I'm saying? He probably don't do shit like that very often up there.
I think he knew that.
No. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
It was a very funny scene of him tricking this homeless woman to just give them the report. It was very funny. And then just before the scene cuts, I love that he's like, go ahead, get the money she gives her to get something to eat.
Make sure you get something to eat, everything with that. Yeah.
it was very funny. That's
Yeah, because she's a drug addict. You know what I'm saying? And whatnot. That's I've given money before to homeless people before New York like that, New York City before like that, whatnot. You always that's what you always tell them. Make sure you eat something. You know, you don't want them to take the money and give it all away on drugs and booze. But except unless it's me, because I only that's all I use my money for. But so from there they enter the apartment, pitch dark again, no natural lighting, but wonderful like scene, just seeing his environment, right? And basically what we see in the intro is what we see in there. We see sort of the process of John Doe's work, right? And his tools, his environment, how he goes about it. He's got 2,000 notebooks full of writings and whatnot, and everything, right? Summersby is just reading right through them, diving through them, and basically forensics hasn't found a single fingerprint yet. Of course, we know now because they shaved some bitches off. Summerby reads the writings in his notebooks, and discovers that John Doe also does not find apathy appealing. And Summersby later on, in the almost next scene, tells Mills when they're at a bar having a drink. The phone rings and Mills talks to John Doe, like Andre said, and basically we hear his voice for the first time. He says right there, "I commend police officers for the work they do," or something like that, right? Which I admire you. Yep. Yeah. There you go, and I believe him, and at that I do. So they go to the next murder, and it's like a sex shop type environment, like an underground kind of like sex club, kind of like sex dungeon kind of place, like brothel kind of place, and whatnot, everything where you can like rent rooms and shit and whatnot.
Wait, you should recognize this. I was checking. This is a massage parlor. That's what it is.
Is that what that was? I've never been to one like that. No.
It's the goth dark massage parlor.
Oh, I'm not into goth, so like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm only just having small penises. Other than that, I'm not into goth. But no, they interview the guy who was also in the Bone Collector, right? He was the guy that like tries to kill.
Yes,
Denzel.
That's true. I forgot about that. Yep. I knew. I forgot.
Yeah, and there's also the music during that scene is from Gravity Kills, who I've seen live. Now they interviewed the guy. He was great. Describing having to kill this prostitute, right? With a fucking sex toy with like a fucking knife on it, right? And just his fucking authentic emotion and like the effect of had done what he did. I felt like it translated like real. Like he seemed very, I mean, really, just his emotion was really well done and well portrayed by that actor. Very disturbing, right?
Yeah, it was. Speaking of that, the manager, she was in The Crow. He was a funny boy.
Yep. Yeah, he was funny boy. Yep.
Yeah, and he's another one I spotted. Yeah.
Oh, The Crow's going to be one on a review list soon. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming. So at the bar, we listened to Summersby, talk just like John Doe almost to Mills, and this is where the characterization, with the parallelization kicks in again, telling Mills, and he starts to actually, for the first time, we actually see Summersby actually get almost upset, right, and like actually get passionate about how much he detests the city, right, and what it does to people and whatnot, and like he doesn't like apathy, the gray. Right? It's all about the gray for me, that I kept finding myself again. The gray. You see? I just kept feeling these scenes where the gray would pop in, like this sense of the gray. of this city, of what it does to people, this place that they end up in. And the gray is the only thing I could come up with that made sense to me, right? They don't live in a black and white world in the city. They live in the gray. Just like when Summersby tells Mills that they tell women that are getting raped to shout fire, not help. Because people in the city, when they hear help, won't come. But if you say fire, they'll come. So either way, he's trying to kind of school Mills a little bit in a way. But John Doe calls into 911, tells them where to go for the next murder, Pride, where basically this chick is getting sleeping pills and a phone glued to her hands, her nose cut off, and then given the choice of either killing herself or living life disfigured. Right? And he just continues, basically, for the most part, other than like two exceptions, I think, or one exception, he basically, he almost tortures every single person that he kills, right? Like he makes their deaths really like punishment. You know what I'm saying? Well, not atonement. You know what I mean? Like real atonement, attrition, right? Forced to be tortured due to their sins and whatnot and everything. And that's intense. And essentially, at this point in the film, these murder scenes have become so almost like we're not even at this point. You're benevolent about this stuff almost. You're just kind of like you're almost in the gray now, right? You're just waiting for the story the suspense starts to really pick up at that point. And he then just shows up at the precinct when they're on the way back, bloody hands. Asks to talk to his lawyer. Lawyer walks in, basically flat out says, that, for one thing, they're told when the lawyer tells them that he wants a deal, he has all these very specific, stipulations, right? And it's really well done because basically he wants Mills and he wants Summersby to take him to this place at this time tomorrow. And, if they do, he will, he will admit to his crimes, whatnot, everything, and all that, whatever. If not, he'll plead insanity. And the lawyer even says, "I'll get him off," right? I will. And at that point, the district attorney, I think it is, or somebody says there is blood. In the blood we found on his hands, there is a unknown blood source. So at that point, we'll stop there. And then we'll have that final scene. Cyber, sir, at that point, right before that buildup, right, where they, we get the scene where we get Summersby and we get Mills sort of like bullshitting and laughing together and whatnot when they're shaving themselves in the bathroom before the trip. Before that point, anything you want to bring up or discuss? Thank you, Dodge.
Thank you, Dodge. Great introduction, sir. Anyways, basically that portion of the film leading up to that scene is just basically a lot of just detective work, I feel. I don't think anything is super special, but I also, at the same time, I think it still was entertaining. I still enjoyed all those sequences. I like how they built it up. I like how each one they went to, it was a different type of situation that they had to, basically learn from. And I feel that's kind of like how this film goes along is the seven deadly sins. If you look up the actual history of it, it's kind of like they're trying to tell people, how these certain things are bad and that they need to change their ways. And so I think each of the sequences, each of these scenes where it shows a new person dealing with something, was kind of John Doe's way of kind of reiterating how, they need to change their path, and that each of these sequences did that. And I liked how, it brought that all together, the few scenes that we're talking about here. And especially, like the sequence with the gal, the model that gets her face mutilated and then she ends up killing herself. That's a perfect example of, of something that I feel would be very realistic. That's a woman, if they had this situation where this happened to them and they didn't feel like they could live with themselves, they would kill themselves. So, I mean, essentially, I think that was one thing about this film too, is that it really kept it very to realistic standards. And that's what was so enjoyable about the sequences where they're doing their detective work. It felt like what real detectives would do. And I think that was beautifully directed by Fincher there and just played out by these actors. And so this particular sequence too as well, I just think that it's pretty much, kind of, just more filler for this film. It's kind of, it kind of helped to give each of the different sins their due, if you would say, their time to kind of give you an idea of, leading from point A to point, Z, where they were end up going to initially get to the point that we get to at the very end of the film. So I think that this sequence is pretty basic, pretty interesting at the same time. It was enjoyable. I don't think it takes away from the film at all. I don't think it's bad. But I do feel like it's pretty much just kind of that detective work, kind of filler type of deal that just help progress from point A to point B.
Agreed. Andres?
Yeah, I agree with Saber say. I mean, these are detective investigations done realistically, which is cool. And I think these scenes are like the most like these are like the most downbeat and just dreaded scenes. Like from the lost victim, just being raped by this distraction dildo, and then the pride one, which I didn't catch with the pride, that she died by suicide because she couldn't handle she couldn't handle without her face being beautiful. Like that was just like very dark. That was something I noticed about my repeat viewing for this movie today. Um, yeah, but it's also important to mention is the down like the downside of my Detective Miles' psychology, his psyche. He just started to slowly become consumed by this awful, horrific crimes in Seven, to the point where he just cannot handle it. He's trying to still hold hope to capture John Doe, despite that John Doe is like two steps ahead of every police so far in this movie, and he's trying desperately to catch this guy so badly, which is not good because he's so how do you say it, ahead of everyone in this movie. But yeah, so this scene, another scene that is also kind of, of course, Kevin Spacey, coming into the police station uh, and saying "detective" so loud. It's like, oh my god! Do you guys like when you first saw this? Did you knew that Kevin Spacey was the killer? Because like his name was not in the posters. That's the thing that's so cool about this movie.
It's not. No, it's not. It's not. Wasn't listed in the. It's not. It's not even listed as one of the in the as one of the main actors in the film.
Yeah. So when he pops up and they realize like, oh my god, that's Kevin Spacey, and like the build up of the killer is like so amazing by David Fincher. It's like, oh my god, this is him, and then I don't know, and then his, oh my god, that reveal was just like, oh my, unexpected. Like you didn't know what's going on with John Doe, so like right away we're like, okay, what's going on, and of course when he's talking to his lawyer, of course, Detective Miles feeling something that's really wrong, and then the last thing that Detective Somerset says, that he finally him and he finally agreed what he was saying, that was the first time that he's on the same page as Detective Miles. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I enjoyed this sequence. I mean, it just really amped me up to the ending, like which we're going to talk more about because it's really exciting. I mean, the ending is just what makes this movie so great.
No, most definitely. And I mean, as far as the ending goes, I'm not going to say much about it. We all know how it goes, right? I mean, it's very simple. He gets in the car and basically, there's no way to explain what you have to watch and take in, right? Throughout that 30 minutes or whatever it is and whatnot for me to really explain it. But John Doe plays with and sets up Mills. The whole, like in the car ride, the minute they really start talking, he really sets him up and gets him going, right? Before it provokes him a little bit and whatnot, right? Gets him ignited and shit and whatnot before they actually get where they're supposed to get. A delivery person shows up, right, with a box. And we get the what's in the box with Mills, right? And the way that John Doe says to him that he tried to be the good husband or whatever and whatnot, but it didn't work out well, right? You know what I mean, and whatnot. And being Mills, knowing like the time that like he takes when he does his work with his victims, thinking about that in his head, I imagine, if any man's head, would be really disturbing to think like with the things that he'd done to her before he cut her head off or whatever and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And all that. I mean, the fact that he cut her fucking head off to begin with is fucking crazy. But either way, her head's in the fucking box. Right? And Summersby warns, he's scared in the car, right? Like, Mills doesn't even take him seriously. Summersby's already worried before they even get to the scene. He's worried. And he shouts on the radio, don't let him come near the box. Hear me. Don't let him come near the box. He shouts at Mills, put your gun down, put your gun down. He shoots John Doe once he realizes that's Tracy's head in the box, and that's it. That's the end of the film. Basically, Somerset tells the captain that he'll if Mills needs anything, he'll help him. That's it. And Envy, right, was the death of Tracy. So, there you go. And that's the movie. And that's the ending. And Andres, my friend, start first. What would you like to say?
Oh my god. Come on. What's in the box? What is in the box? I think it's $20. Cold, like a full dish cold pizza, tacos and macaroni and cheese and
$50 bag of crack.
Okay, now you ruined it. Why? I was thinking my box. Okay, you can have your box. You were tugging first. Why you had to do that? But no. Anyway, I thought this. I mean, look, the ending's iconic. Mine is the joke I just made, and Jeff's intrusion of my joke of what's in the box. Anyway, sorry for that, folks. But no, I think this the ending is iconic. I mean, come on, everyone has. I mean, it's been parodied so many times. I mean, in cartoons and TV and sitcoms and whatnot. It's just the build up. It's just so fantastic. Like you didn't know what was going on. Like what, because you didn't realize what John Doe said. It was two bodies he's gonna give them, right? And that was the wife and his body, which was crazy. It's like, oh, here's the two bodies, and then, of course, we didn't bring up the press. Like corruption. I like how this movie talks about corruption in a good way. Like the press can, pay the police to give them information. That's how Jane Doe find out about Detective Mills' life, and it's very shocking. It's scary too. Another violation of information. Just like the FBI thing that we discussed with the library cards. But I just like the way, like, there's something about not showing the, like, the head is really great. You don't need to show the empathetic head. It sometimes goes too far and it's like too violent. Like, I like the way that the filmmaker, the team here did it. It's like you just see the reaction that Morgan Freeman does, and he's like, "Oh my god," because he recognized who he is, and I think and what makes it really scary because John Doe starts to tease a little bit to Detective Mills about it, and it's like, oh my god. And then when he mentions the wife, and then it gets his attention, it's like, oh my god, no. And then of course, I don't know, like, come on, Morgan Freeman, you should run faster. Like, he's almost gonna kill him. And oh my god. But what hit it for me when I first saw this, and it still hits so well in the recent watch, was he didn't know about the primacy,
Baby,
which,
yep.
yeah, oh my god, when especially when the way Morgan Freeman slapped him, it was like, shut the hell up, and it's like, oh my god. And then the oh my god, Brad Pitt. That's the thing about it, is Brad Pitt is such a fantastic actor. His face tells you everything. His is just enraged, just so shocked. And I don't know if you guys saw this when he's going about to shoot John Doe. He has that brief glimpse of Tracy. I don't know if you see that there's like a brief image of her before he shoots Tracy. Very good, like, quick shot edit to see this last image of this woman he really loved before killing this killer. And I didn't realize that he shoots him 6 times, and he's the seventh, John Doe, and that's so poetic. So yeah, it's one of those shocking endings. It just works in so many levels with the acting. The direction by David Fincher is really amazing. I know that the studios had this problem with the ending. That was the most contentious thing about the studios. They wanted to change the ending, which I'm so happy that that the filmmakers kept that, because that's the thing that makes the film work. It brings all the themes and the talk that Somerset and Mills were having, in the film about apathy and all that, and order and religion and all that. Like, it just comes all together with this ending. And thank God Brad Pitt, because Brad Pitt signed on because he liked the ending. So you have to thank him and David Fincher and Morgan Freeman to keep that ending. So it was really the actors and then the director to keep that ending, not the studio. So it just shows you how, it's really the other people that are the heroes, not the studio. But yeah, I highly recommend watching this movie. It's awesome. The ending, it still haunts you. I like the Ernest Hemingway quote that Somerset says. He agreed the second part. What was his quote say? The world is a fine place worth fighting for. And I like how he agreed with the second part. So that's true. It's worth fighting. And I think that's a really good line to end the movie. So, but yeah, it was great to see this movie again. It's just one of my favorite, like, crime thrillers films, all time.
Yeah, most definitely. Cyberneticshark, sir.
Okie dokie, artichoke. All right, people. So we're talking about the end here. Okay. All right. Hey, so the end here is quite interesting because we got Kevin Spacey, Morgan Freeman, and Brad Pitt. He going the wrong way. So one thing we gotta make sure of what we gotta do here is that we gotta remember. Anyways, folks, I don't know. I thought I'd throw a little humor in there for you guys.
Nice. I like it. I love
Anyways, so
oh my god, please keep doing that. I want that now.
Warner Brothers here tonight?
Oh my god, it sounded like a Jamaican person. Just doing a
Jamaican, huh?
rehash. Yeah, the rehash on the ending.
Oh man.
Oh
No.
God,
That wasn't
thank
Jamaican.
you.
That was not Jamaican people.
No.
Anyways, so the Jamaican people here, you know. No, I'm just joking. So anyways, yeah, the ending here is probably the one of the greatest endings in movie history. Hands down. I mean, nobody saw this coming, most definitely. I mean, even though, you know, Tracy disappeared pretty much halfway through the movie, you know, we don't know what really happened to her. We don't know what's going on with her because we don't see her again after that one sequence where after they chased John Doe and Mills has a broken arm and he spoons her in the bed. That's the last time we see her. So essentially, we don't see her again. And so we have no idea kind of what's going on with her. They don't make any reference that he might have kidnapped her or something like that. So this is a complete shock. And so leading up to that, you know, with the last couple kind of the murders, you kind of get an idea, okay, so we're coming to a conclusion here of what's going on with these 7 deadly sins. So they're thinking, okay, so all we have left is, you know, we have wrath and we have envy left, you know. So, you know, we get basically to the end part. We have that great sequence where Kevin Spacey, John Doe turns himself in. And you're just kind of like going, what the hell? Like, why did he just turn himself in? Like, what's going on here? And so after he turns himself in, you know, he has that lawyer come in and says, you know, if they do all these things, he'll admit to the guilt and all this kind of stuff, you know, and they're kind of like, yeah, no, you know, at first they're kind of like thinking, no, that's not how this works. Like, this shouldn't be how it works. This guy deserves the fry, you know, basically. And so they eventually agree to it. And we have that great kind of cop ride out to the area where he tells him to go. And, so we have that kind of interaction between Mills and John Doe there, and Kevin Spacey's kind of like telling his story and telling things and kind of like riling up, you know, Mills. He's trying to get, you know, him to be angry because that's his whole point of John Doe doing this is he's trying to get it all to be fulfilled. He wants these 7 deadly sins to be completely done and that, you know, shown that the world is evil, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. So they have that conversation going through, and basically at one point, you know, Mills starts to get angry at him and tells him basically to shut the hell up. And, you know, kind of Kevin Spacey kind of stops talking at one point. They finally get to the area. They get out, of course, and they're walking along. And as they're, you know, walking, following Kevin Spacey to the area, all of a sudden a van starts coming up towards them, you know? And so we have that van, and he's dropping off a package of some sort, which, you know, the character, this person was having this delivered right at the time John Doe wanted to be delivered. And then we, of course, you know, we have basically the sequence where Morgan Freeman goes and looks at the box, what's in it. He's very surprised by what's in there. He's disgusted. He's like, you know, generally shocked by it. And so, you know, once Morgan Freeman kind of gets the idea of what John Doe is doing here, he starts to make his way over to stop Mills. And that's when we get that great iconic thing. What's in the box? And I absolutely love that line. I absolutely think that's one of the best, I think one of Brad Pitt's best lines he's ever said, because he did it so well. And just the passion behind it, it felt so real. It felt like he really was saying what is in the box. Like, it wasn't just, you know, plain acting. It felt like he was really saying what's in the box. And so we end up finding out, of course, you know, that it's Tracy's head. And basically leading up to, you know, in you know, basically, you know, Somerset trying to stop Mills from shooting him, because if you do that, he will win. And he tries to start his case, but as we saw earlier in the film, their two personalities are so different. Mills is a hothead. Somerset's this, you know, OCD, you know, person that is very set in his ways. You know, it just doesn't mix. And with what, you know, Kevin Spacey is saying as John Doe, you know, it's igniting that fire that's already in Mills that he's had this whole time. And so, like I was saying before, how we had hints of his, you know, his rage, you kind of knew that he was going to end up being the wrath portion of the 7 deadly sins. It was kind of foreshadowed throughout the whole entire film without actually, you know, pointing really to it, but you kind of knew it was going to happen. And so the ending was proving that, envy and wrath was there too and was completed. And John Doe basically ended up winning because, Mills ends up killing him. And I thought what Brad Pitt did there was so phenomenal with how he did his expressions and how he did that and how he like walked off after shooting him, like in this catatonic state, which was so well, rounded, and just was another showing of how amazing an actor Brad Pitt was and how he still is. I mean, this is only foreshadowed in 12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys was another one that he was so freaking amazing in. And so I think both of these came out the same year, actually. I forget I don't know which one came out first, but those two films.
Yeah. I think 12 Monkeys came first.
Okay. It really did a good job of bringing to life, his career, I feel. And both of these films, especially this one and 12 Monkeys, I feel really catapulted him to becoming the next star he was and becoming the star he was. And I mean, that ending was just so amazing. And I'm not usually the one where I like an ending where the bad guy wins. I don't really like that, but it fits this film because it's so based in reality, and the whole movie is based in reality, and that's what makes this movie so freaking good. So that alone makes it understandable why they would end it the way they did, and I think it beautifully finished and gave us that great climactic ending. Great film.
There you go. Ratings. Andre's a pop culture guy. What you got?
Sorry, I was just posting something in the chat. Yeah, my bad. My mistake. 12 Monkeys was after 7 was released. It was released in December of 1995. So I make that correction because I was kind of confused with this date.
Now add that to the damn list of movies we're gonna have to fucking review because I haven't seen that in freaking forever either.
Oh yeah, 12 Monkeys, great film, great Terry Gilliam film. Check it out. Anyway, so rating. So this is gonna be tough because, oh man, like David Fincher, I will give this a 9 out of 10. I think this is a very phenomenal film. It's dark. I mean, you should know it's a dark film. I mean, it's a crime thriller, so expect that. It's a bleak ending. Expect that. I mean, I already knew that when I was growing up, so I was fine with that. So anyway, so 7, great film. It's my top 3 favorite Fincher films. Oh my god, after Gone Girl and Social Network, highly recommend this. It's a 9 out of 10 film for me. No, forget that. 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 movie. It's great.
Hey, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10, folks. It's a tightly written film, tightly directed by David Fincher at his peak in his earliest career, and the actors are phenomenal. I mean, Brad Pitt, as Cyber say, Brad Pitt is an amazing actor. The way he expressed his comical his state after learning his wife dying, it's just incredible. And Morgan Freeman, we haven't talked about much about Morgan Freeman. He's a great actor, and this is his best role after the Dark Knight trilogy,
Shawshank Redemption.
Well, oh my god, Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, he's great there.
Don't forget Glory.
Glory, yeah.
Well, yeah. Driving Miss Daisy.
How many more movies do you want to add to my list tonight?
Yeah, Driving Miss Daisy.
There's so many movies to add, Jeffrey, because I mean, we could probably do a movie a night with how many movies we need to review.
I know that.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that. Yeah. That's why I was saying earlier in the private chat.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Oh my god, Street Smart. Street Smart's great.
There's so many good TV series out there to review. Every other day I'm finding myself going on YouTube and just yesterday I was on there and I queried what new series are coming out for the rest of this year, just to see if there was maybe just one more series that might be worth us jumping on. You know what I mean? Whatnot? If we could fit it in our schedule.
we should do Curb. Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's a great show. We should review that. Larry David is
Oh,
funny.
well,
Yes,
let's get that. Let's finish. Let's do our plugs and finish our ratings and get out of here. We'll discuss doing older TV series movie reviews another time. But hey, if Cyberneticshark says we should do it, then I'm down. I'm ready to rock, baby. I've been holding back until he gave me the green light. So,
He's been holding back, people.
There you go.
I have to give him the green light. You see.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I'm gonna give it a 10 because there's nothing else to say about it. It's a 10, baby. You know what I'm saying? 10 out of 10. What's up, Cyber?
I also give it a 10. I think it's just a solid film simply for the fact of Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Those two actors alone, I give 10s to all the time because they're just phenomenal actors. They always come to work. They always make their characters fantastic. They always do a really good job. And both of them, their careers have been fantastic. Even, after this film, there's so many more films that they have been in that have been really amazing. I think, one of, Brad Pitt's, like I said, one of my favorite movies of his, my number one is 12 Monkeys. For me, it's always going to be 12 Monkeys. That's my absolute favorite of his. He was so fantastic as a character. The amazingness that he brought to being a crazy, deranged person in that film just was on point. He was so good. And I absolutely loved him in that. And then, of course, you can't say no to Fight Club with him.
About to say Fight Club, man.
World War Z, Babylon. He's amazing in even more the movies that he's done in the recent 10 years. He's been fantastic.
I haven't been watching a lot of his most recent movies either. I need to go back and watch some of the stuff he's done recently and whatnot. And don't forget also, what do you call it? The one where he was
What's About a Time in Hollywood?
No, that I haven't seen yet, but the one with Eric Bana. The one where he
Troy.
Yep, Troy.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That was a fantastic film. Lando Bloom, all those great. They were so fantastic.
Here's Case of Benjamin Button. That's been your shout out.
That I didn't care too much for that one. I don't think that one's anything that great.
I
think he's done better.
I tried to tell a joke one time on the show about how I remember Cyber. I tried to make this joke about how I somehow
you were curious. Basically, he was trying to go.
So, I was Curious Case of Benjamin Button at one point. I went from, time to time, and next thing I know, I was
I was trying to explain how it's possible that I was already fertile and having children or whatever, whatnot, at age 7 or whatever, right?
Yeah, yep. You were trying to say you were already 100 years old at 7 or something like that.
Wow.
oh my God.
And I hadn't even met the 60-minute man yet, man. So I wasn't trying to copy your shit, Andres.
Yeah. Well, mine is different from Benjamin Button, folks. Mine's is more science fiction than Benjamin Button's.
Now your shit's science fiction? Oh my God, you gotta be fucking kidding me! What the fuck? Didn't I already say a long time ago that you're basically trying to say that you're time cop or whatever?
Yep.
Time Lord. Excuse me.
Oh,
everyone.
you're Time Lord.
Time Lord.
Yeah, it's a Time
He's
Lord.
he's kind of like Jean-Claude Van Damme in Time Cop, but he's calling himself Time Lord instead of Time Cop. Basically the fucking damn thing, same thing.
No, folks.
Time Lord.
If you've seen Doctor Who, you understand what I'm saying.
I'm just waiting for Dolph Lundgren to come out and be saying "Hey, Time Lord, Time Lord."
Well, you won't be seeing Dolph Lundgren because I gave away my slot to do the Punisher to let Andres pick his film for movie reviews. And Andres, I called you the other day to freaking remind me what the movie was so I could write it down because I couldn't find the paper I wrote it down.
It was Django Unchained. Come on.
The Django Unchained. Okay, that's what it was. All right. Thank you, sir. We write that down.
Now, thank you for picking something that was actually spot on good.
Yes. You know what, Cyber? Good. That's really. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I really am. You know, because after you mentioned I don't know.
Christoph Waltz. Whoa.
Yeah. No, because I mean, whatever it was you said in the private chat earlier or whatnot, some show you said we should review or whatever and whatnot. I was a little concerned, but
Yeah, you just need to throw these out. I just need to see what you guys like, and I'm like,
Exactly.
okay, I just yeah.
we me and Cyber typically like more serious fare.
Okay.
We do. We like comedy. We like lighthearted stuff if it's done well, but we prefer, I think, right, Cyber. We'd rather review stuff that's unless it's for fun, right? You know what I mean? We'd rather prefer stuff like Seven,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Stuff that's actually got some tangible, something fucking real to work with, right? That's why down the road, folks. I mean, next show maybe I'll talk about our list, but we've got The Godfather and Godfather 2 coming. It's coming, baby. That's right, Andres. Godfather 1, Godfather 2, baby. Oh, you already know. I told you already.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited for part 2. I'm excited for part.
Next week, of course, we have Back to the Future.
That's right, Back to the Future. And I'll tell you that I feel bad because my lazy ass has still not put together a full PDF for the first time ever in the history of the Bleeding Edge, just laying out not even our full schedule, but our loose schedule, for the creators and whatnot that come on the shows and whatnot and everything to work with and whatnot to help us with our collaborative process. But I'm going to make sure that I go ahead and do that. I'm making that leap in my content creation evolution. And we do know what films we're reviewing all the way through to the end of the year. In fact, we even know the first one of next year. So you can rely on the Bleeding Edge for movie reviews, right? We will deliver them. Maybe even more of them than we're doing right now. We'll have to talk about that and figure that out. But down the road, we've got some really good ones. We've got Braveheart, Back to the Future. A lot of creators want to be on Back to the Future. So, we won't have any trouble putting together a panel for that one.
Money!
Yeah. And, of course, that means we got to do Back to the Future 2. Cyber, we're going to have to slip that in, or right at the beginning of next year, we're going to have to drop that in there.
And Back to the Future 3.
There you go. So, anyways, folks, this is our 7 review. I mean, we could talk for another hour about it. What is there to say? Cyber and Andres pretty much killed it on the panel. I mean, Cyber pointing out the fact that, yes, I don't know to what degree this film validated or facilitated Pitt as an actress and whatnot. I don't know if he'd been recognized at that point for what he was capable of pulling off. But a $323 million box office return off $32 million budget in 1996 is pretty damn good, right? Pretty damn good, I'd have to say. That's basically making close to $1 billion now, right? At the box office, it is. That's a hell of a profit. And the fact that they managed to make that movie for $32 million is fucking, hey, great job. Good for them. But then again, we explained the settings and whatnot and everything, and they didn't really have to do much. But no, Pitt and Freeman killed it. They carried the film. They are the central figures of the film. Their dichotomy is the film, right? Their dichotomy in the city, right? And then of course, if you want to call it the villain or the hero, that's your call in terms of who John Doe is, because we never know who he really is. But folks, next Wednesday, I believe it would be, let's see.
Secret Invasion, episode 6.
No. Wednesday would be, date-wise, it would be, what, the 26th?
Yeah, 20. No.
26th. Wednesday the 26th, 9:35 p.m. Eastern, 6:35 p.m. Pacific. You'll see all 3 of us. Cyber will be moderating the finale of Secret Invasion. Hopefully, it will be much better than episode 5. The whole team will be back. John will be back. We'll have our whole squad, right? It should be a great show. This Sunday, as I mentioned, I'm redoing the first part of an Andor season 1, which is kind of going to end up blending into a bit of a Rogue One as well. 3-part recap and breakdown, which I wanted to try to, as much as possible, I want to try to start doing stuff like that with these shows that we cover. I'd like to try to do some recap shows. Maybe after Secret Invasion, we can put something together. Bring everybody back together and kind of get everybody's final thoughts on the whole series. Monday, Andres and I, and maybe a special guest or two might pop on. I believe a Marvel's trailer dropped today, did it not? There you go.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. I'm introduced because this week is Comic-Con.
We watched it twice tonight.
Did you watch Marvel's trailer twice already?
Yep.
Well, it's 12:30. Maybe we'll have to see. We'll have to talk in the studio after the show and see if anybody wants to do a reaction. Now that I've actually finally figured out how to do them without fucking them up. Basically, bottom line, we'd appreciate it if y'all would support our shows. On Monday, we're doing the 6th episode of the MCU Bleeding Edge Report. Andres has been pushed up. His title has been evolved since he's given what now 5 months. Can you believe that, Cyber? 5 whole months with us. Jesus, time flies. He's now a special guest host on the Monday show. Woohoo! Which I know he feels special about because he seemed really happy when I mentioned it. And we're doing the finale of Dead City, which again, same thing. Hopefully it's better than episode 5. Episode 5 was not so good.
Yeah. Oh, good news. We got confirmed. They got renewed for a second season, and same thing with Daryl.
I already knew that. Come on. What do you think?
I'm telling
I was setting up the second season. Anyways, whatever.
Yeah, right.
Whatever. I'm trying to find our Daryl Dixon season 1 t-shirts, but I haven't been able to find any yet. I'll find something.
That's gonna probably be a good show, most definitely.
I think it will be. Yes, I think there's a reason why they put it in between Dead City and the Michonne, Rick series, right? Which they're gonna make money off that shit.
They have a title for that now.
Oh, they do?
It's called. Yeah, it's called. The one once live. I think it's called. It's very.
I don't know.
Just stop talking.
I don't know why they were even talking about doing TV movies anyway. To be honest with you, to me it just made sense that they would do spin-off series. You know what I'm saying? When not, why would you even bother with TV movie?
Yeah. So okay. It's called The Ones Who Live.
There you go.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
So, anyways,
You got it right finally, people.
Next Friday.
Daffy Duck is here, everyone. Daffy Duck /
SpongeBob.
That's the future. Night is on Friday next week. That's the future. Andres, you're going to be joining us for that.
And Bob SquarePants. Yeah.
Put me in the Back to the Future crew.
Oh, okay. Andres will be back. He will be back for the Back to the Future. Andres will be on every show this week except for Andor. Oh, and just to be clear, Andres already and Kendra's already confirmed this. He's already said he's doing Ahsoka, so he can talk whatever shit now about how he's not going to do it, whatnot, everything. He's doing Ahsoka. So
guys, I'm a Star Trek fan. I'm sorry, I cannot do Ahsoka.
You're just afraid because Ahsoka's going to fucking kick your ass and whatnot, and you can't handle it. So
both are great things.
You saw that second Ahsoka trailer, and you were like, "Oh man, I can't step to this shit."
Who want to watch Rosario Dawson for 6 hours? Okay,
for real.
Hello.
True,
Anybody
true.
see Trance?
Andres, I'm telling you, man, just go watch Rebels, right? And then tell me you're not going to want to or go watch the Clone Wars, and then tell me you don't want to review Ahsoka.
I'll just watch one episode.
We got time.
I'll just watch the one episode from the
Mandalorian?
Yeah, where Ahsoka appear. I'll probably watch that.
Season 2. Yeah.
Yes.
I wish we would. I wish we would have went back. I wish we would have reviewed the Mandalorian right from jump. That's one of my regrets. Did we exist when the first season came out? No.
Nope.
Okay.
We started in 2021, so
that's right. And at that point too, like the idea of us even covering Star Wars was like not even. on the radar. That wasn't even like an option.
Because Mando season 1 was in 2020.
Can you believe that, folks? Can you believe that, Andres? At one point, the MCU's Bleeding Edge, we did not. We covered Marvel, and that was it. And right, and it took us a while before we decided to like jump out and actually start moving around and cover some different stuff. But we did it for the right reasons. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, we've covered some really good TV series, and they've convinced us and made us want to expand. So there you go. Yeah. Anyways, folks, plug time. Yeah. Oh, and also, folks, coming out next week, you can be looking out. You'll see on YouTube, there's going to be some shorts coming out on every platform we're on. The MC's Bleeding Edge, we're putting out some shorts having to do with the promoting and the giveaway raffle process involving, finally, making sure that some of you get some $25 Amazon gift cards. If you help Cyberneticshark and Andres, simply make sure that they hit 1,000 subs before the end of the year. It's that simple. I bought a whole bunch of them. I got a stack of them fuckers. So I ain't fighting around. All right. And they're tangible. I mean, I'll pull them out and show them if I have to. You'll be seeing them. They'll be coming out. Support these guys. Support their YouTube channels. I want to see them hit 1,000 before the end of the year. That mark is very important on YouTube. But I digress. Andre's a pop culture guy. I've got your channel pulled up. Sir. Yo, you gained 3 subscribers since Wednesday.
Yeah. So yeah, just want to say thank you, everyone, including the MCU Bleeding Edge. I mean, everyone in this community. Thank you so much. I just ask for all your support and love, aka hit the subscribe button and hit that like button. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, Jeff just brought up that I got increased by 3 subscribers, 786 subscribers. So yeah, so I just posted a new comic read series, Star Trek Echoes. This is like in the continuity of the Star Trek motion picture film of 1979. So that's going to be 3 parts. And then tomorrow I'm going to post a movie tribute on Pacific Rim, because guess what? That movie has the 10th anniversary this year. And
wow.
I love this. Yeah, Pacific Rim came out this July, this month. I love that movie. It's, I mean, not the best Guillermo del Toro film, but it's really great. And yeah, so then later on next week, I will have the Wolverine podcast /10th anniversary in this channel. And so yeah, so that's where I'm at right now with my channel. But yeah, so
what
but thank you, everyone.
Toro movie did you say? Which Guillermo del Toro movie did you say?
Pacific Rim, the 2013 film. Yeah. His
best fucking film ever. Best fucking film ever.
Hey.
Best fucking film ever.
All right.
Wow, Andres, you know what? I gotta give you props, man. Your playlists are much more professional looking than ours. So hats off to you.
Yeah. So my playlist is what the videos I created.
I don't
and
think we even have playlists, sir.
Huh?
We don't have playlists.
We have playlists. I just don't have thumbnails on them. We don't have any?
No, because I've looked.
All right, I'll look into that. I thought that when you went on the channel, they were right there.
They are.
It just shows you a list. It just shows you the all the stuff you put up. Doesn't actual playlists aren't created. You have to create the playlist yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's true.
Oh, so I'm doing something wrong then, because I thought that's what I was doing.
I have no idea.
I'll talk to you after the show. Anyways, Cyberneticshark. There we are. Now, sir, what would you like to say about the current affairs and state of the Cyberneticshark YouTube channel?
All right, people. So if you enjoy me here on the MCU'S Bleeding Edge, definitely check out my solo content underneath Cyberneticshark. I've gained 1 whole subscriber since Wednesday.
Let's go out there, you.
And of course, if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out, people. It's really fun stuff. Just recently put up my Kraven the Hunter trailer reaction, so definitely check that out. You'll also be seeing my Mission Impossible review there, so definitely check that out as well. Great movie. Dead Reckoning Part 1, fantastic film. Absolutely loved it. Loved it. We'll be seeing Oppenheimer soon, so you'll be on the lookout for a review of that eventually. Also, the Barbie movie. I'll be doing a review on that as well. And if you have not checked out the Jury Duty show on Freebie, Amazon Prime, definitely check it out. It's freaking hilarious. Basically, if you're not familiar with it, it is a show. It's like an 8-part series, 8-part show, where they took one person that they pretended that they were going to be on a jury, that they had to come in for jury duty, and then the rest of the people in the show are actors. And the whole episode's about them trying a case, solving a case, and stuff like that. And James Marsden's in it. It's absolutely freaking hilarious. You got to check it out. So good.
There you go. You heard it right there, folks. And the only plug I've got is, hey, plug these fellas and help us hit, 28,000 subscribers. I believe we hit 27,000 yesterday. Right? And I'd really like to see us hit 50,000 by the end of the year. That'd be nice. I appreciate that. That'd be good. Because then potentially maybe we might meet our trajectory at 100K when Cyber might end up being right on his prediction on when that might occur. And I would actually, to tell you the truth, I would appreciate that happening. Because I enjoy subscribers and getting lots of them. And the idea of having 100,000 sounds very positive to me. So at that point, please subscribe to the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. Please ring that bell at the very least if you come across one of our shows, because you know what? At the end of the day, like it or hate it, we out there entertaining the fuck out of people. Yo, what up? We're getting after it with the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. We out of here. 7 review done. Next show on. We'll be getting after it again. Till then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good weekend. Have a good Monday at work. And please do us a solid and make sure that you stop by your local massage parlor and support all massage parlors out there. Right? They're very important to every community. So take care, folks. We love you. Watch 7 if you've never seen it before. Kids,
massage parlors.
Watch 7. Save the massage parlors, baby.
Bring the band in. Woo! Well, all right. Yeah, they want me to fit in, but I can't. I'm too different with it. Too advanced to think. You know my intuition.